Okay. All right. Well, glad we are here, gathered. This is truly the we're in it together philosophy. And I'd like to welcome everybody to Commissioners Court, and particularly I do that by gaveling us in and noting the time is 2:06 p.m. And I'd like for everyone to, if you would so kindly, gentlemen, remove your hats as we stand for prayer and remain standing as we give.
We're in recess.
Oh, recess,
We're coming
that's
back from
right.
recess.
Oh, that is right.
Recess.
You know what? We actually recessed, but look at them. I don't think there's anything wrong with me coming back in from, I'll gavel us out of the recess that we are in, and I would still like to start with a prayer, and that will set the tone for a good afternoon. I'll go ahead and lead. Dear Heavenly Father, we gather here before you as policymakers and men and women who serve. So many that have gathered here ask for nothing more but your loving arms around them to protect them and their families as they protect others. We ask for your discernment and for the ability to understand the difference of the things that we can change and the things that are not in our power to change. And of course, we ask for that wisdom to understand the difference between the two. We ask that you provide your loving comfort to those who are sick and those who are healing from sickness. We ask you to protect our men and women in uniform throughout the world, wherever they may be, who are dedicated to uplifting others in our country's name. We ask all of these things so that we may live up to your promise of loving one another in our community. Grant us the ability to have a good court today, to continue the work that we have pledged to do. We ask this in your name. Amen. So because we already have done the pledge from the previous court, I'll move right into our regular agenda items. And so I'm going to get a little bit of help. So because I recessed, Jenny, I don't have a public comment from the original, but I have the right to open up public comment again. And so I'll choose to do so at this time and recognize that I have at least 12 here and maybe a few online. We'll see. And I'll put the glasses on. And I've got Bill Durrell is first. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
And also, as they say, on deck will be District Attorney Angelica Hernandez.
I don't really have much more to say than I did last week. I just wanted to make sure that y'all knew I was here in case y'all had any more questions about the amphitheater in Robstown.
Thank you so much. Angelica Hernandez, First Assistant District Attorney.
Good afternoon, Judge, Commissioners. First, I just wanted to come to say thank you on behalf of the District Attorney's Office for all of your hard work and dedication, for, quite honestly, the blessing that you gave to our office, and for, passing the proposed budget the way you did. We were able to begin sharing the news with the attorneys and staff today, and to tell you there was a lot of tears would be an understatement. Y'all changed lives doing what you did, and I just want to say thank you. I also came in support of the law enforcement officers that you see in this room. When we first started our issues with the budget, we told you back then we stand in solidarity with the other departments and offices. And the men and women in this room and those that choose to serve, theirs is the most dangerous of jobs. And I speak both as a first assistant and as the wife of a state trooper who did time at the NCSO and patrol. He served as a K-9 officer in DPS, and now he's a sergeant, but a lot of that time was on the roadway, the hardest of which he tells me was as an NCSO patrol officer. They're out in the county, they're in the rural area. It's not like their backup is 2 or 3 minutes away, and all of a sudden they're going to have all these other officers on scene with them. They're by themselves, and they rely, and with COVID and everything that happened with COVID, They were having to continue to go into homes and face those risks. They continue to have to face them with every stop that they make and every encounter that they make. And so today, as you consider hazard pay, I urge you to please think about them and think about their families and the danger that they put themselves in by a choice to serve. Their badge means something not just to our office, but I think to the entire community. And so I would respectfully and humbly ask on behalf of myself, our office, and District Attorney Mark Gonzalez, that you grant them the relief that they're requesting and that you grant them their hazard pay because it is very deserved.
Thank you. I'll call Michelle Putman.
Judge, are we on public comment or agenda?
Yes, we
comment?
are. Public comment.
Okay. So
That's
these
what
are-
I asked. I told Jenny that even though I recessed, I'm reopening public comment.
Okay, because these are, okay. These are all agenda items that we could have debate with them, but you don't. we
I
don't keep-
know.
Okay,
Would
that's
you-
fine.
If you'd like to make
No,
comment, I'm happy to, but I
No.
figured in the interest of time, let's
Fine.
let's
No.
hear from them, and
It's
then we
fine.
can also,
I just didn't want to think we weren't responding, so
okay.
go ahead.
Michelle.
Sorry.
Thank you, Commissioner Chesney. Thank you, Judge Canales. Michelle Putman, Second Assistant District Attorney, and I'm also here twofold. First and foremost, such sincere gratitude to all of you for what you've done for our office. I cannot even begin to express how immense of an impact this will have. Not just today, not just next month or next year, but for years to come. Because what this means is we are now competitive. We can compete with other counties and hire and retain extremely qualified individuals to help prosecute the most serious of crimes that happen in this county. And that's the first that anything of this significance has happened in this office in the decade that I've worked here. And from what I've heard, all the years before that too. So I know it was a lot of work, a lot of heartache. I know it wasn't easy. And on behalf of myself and all of our attorneys and all the attorneys to come in the future, we sincerely, we thank you and know that we genuinely appreciate it. And then secondly, I have the pleasure of overseeing and taking our office means I get to work one-on-one with most of these officers here, lots of them, and more who aren't here. And we see firsthand, well, I guess secondhand because we're watching videos, but what they go through day in and day out. And I hope that the recent 20-year anniversary of September 11th reminds us that they are the first ones to run in when the rest of us are running away. COVID has made their job even more complicated and even more dangerous than it already was. And so I would, even as just a citizen, I fully support their hazard pay requests. Thank you.
Thank you. I think my eyes are getting worse the longer I sit in this chair, but is it Arnold?
Yes.
Oh, it's Arnold, yes.
Yes, ma'am. It is.
Hi,
How you doing?
good.
And it's Carpentier with the.
Yeah, I just
Hi.
couldn't quite read it. I apologize.
That's okay. Good afternoon, Judge, Commissioners. Arnold Carpentier, Sergeant, Vice President with the union. Joe's right-hand man. You don't see much of me. You see all of Joe. I'm just here first trying to say thank you for the opportunity to even talk about the subject. I know it's something we've discussed for the last year and a half. Firsthand in the jail, there's no such thing as social distancing in there. You can't even enforce it. You can highly recommend it, but it's not going to happen. It's an enclosed area. We've been battling COVID for a year and a half, a little more than a year and a half now. Not once have I heard my staff complain about having to go work a COVID unit. Day in and day out, these officers continue to don their uniform, come into work each and every day, and do the job that they're tasked to do. When we got hit really, really hard, we had the reassignment of patrol officers. Those patrol officers came into the jail, and not once did I hear those patrol officers complain about the situations that we had to deal with. So if and when this gets approved, this is going to be a great step in the right direction, not just for the county employees, but especially for the law enforcement officers of this county. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Scott Leeton.
Thank you, Judge, and thank you to the Commissioners Court for allowing us to be here to speak today. My name is Scott Leeton. I am the current president of the Police Officers Association. I'm also a vice president with the Combined Law Enforcement Associations of Texas, and I'm here today to speak on behalf and in favor of the hazardous pay. Sergeant Carpentier stole some of my thunder, but the biggest emphasis, based on what I heard from the first and second assistants to the DA's office, is it sounds like there were pay raises or something that made them competitive. And I think this is the opportunity to start taking the ball, moving the ship forward, moving the ball downfield. And even earlier when I was speaking with Bill Durrell, our conversation came up about the sins of our fathers. And everybody knows that the county is one of the most underpaid in the state. There are other counties that have these issues, but I would challenge y'all to grab the bull by the horns and be the first, be the leader to make this change. As Sergeant Carpentier said, during COVID, these folks came to work. They're short-staffed. There's about 50 vacancies right now, but they continue to come to work. They know they're short-staffed. They still get up and repeat the process. It may be a revolving door to them. It may be in monotone, but they continue to come to work, knowing that there are people there that are working in the jail. While they're working in the jail, the people they're working with are the ones that want to spit on them, throw urine on them, throw feces on them. But guess what? They get up the next morning and they come back to work. Or if they work the night shift, they get up that afternoon and they come to work. And as was mentioned about COVID, you're working in an environment that is enclosed. There is no room to social distance. They didn't have the equipment that was needed. And as a matter of fact, it was Cleat that first came in and brought some of the initial equipment in gloves, PPEs, and hand sanitizer that started to give them some of the equipment that they needed. But they still came to work. They continued, knowing that even as there was a majority of the inmates that were infected by COVID, they still came to work and didn't do their job. And then their coworkers started getting infected with COVID. And they still came to work and did their job. And then the worst thing happened. August of 2020, Raul Salazar passed away from COVID. But what did they do? They kept coming to work. This is your opportunity to reward them for their dedication and their loyalty to the community of Nueces County, the citizens of Nueces County, and the leadership of Nueces County. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Roland Martinez. Lieutenant, welcome.
Thanks, Judge. Let me set this thing up real quick. I'm really not that cool, but I'm gonna try to be. Hold on.
Take your time. For the clerk, I do have all their addresses if you did want to add them.
I'm gonna make this public.
Okay.
Yeah, not law enforcement.
You're what now?
Not law enforcement.
Okay.
But I'll get their names from you, but I
Okay.
won't, yeah. There's also one person online that wants to.
Yes, I see them. I'm just going to go through my roster here.
How you doing, Judge? Commissioners?
Well,
Y'all doing okay? I just wanted to take the time to make a public comment and really show my gratitude and my appreciation for the men and women standing along these walls. And some of the things have already been covered, but I'm gonna go through it again. I'm Lieutenant Roland Martinez Jr. As I've known some of you guys, I serve as Sheriff Hooper's Patrol Lieutenant. I work under his direction and the direction of his administration and Captain Lowborough, who's here also. Like I said, I want to use this opportunity to thank the men and women of the Sheriff's Office and the Constable's Office and the local law enforcement publicly. I've done it time and time again in private, in my office, and anytime I get a chance to. I think my guys will vouch for that. I wanted to thank them for their continued commitment and their service to the office and to the community for the last year and a half. These men and women throughout their careers have answered many calls for service, but there was a lot of unfamiliar calls for service that we had to answer for the past year and a half, one of which included going into the jail. In April 2020, we actually changed shifts, and we went to 12-hour shifts so that way we can maximize the manpower that we had and put as many resources on the road as we could. Come July of 2020, we ended up sending most of those resources into the jail to help our brothers and sisters that were already going into the fight. The worst came in August of 2020, like Mr. Scott Leeton said, with the passing of Sergeant Salazar, and without hesitation through that emotional roller coaster, our guys saddled up and they went back into work, as you should all expect, and we all continue to answer the call. Currently, our deputies in field operations continue to cycle in and out of the jail to continue to help our brothers and sisters because, again, I think the worst has come back. Many of whom were there for the first time. A lot of our patrolmen now and jail staff have contracted the COVID virus, and some of them for the second time, with the second time being a little bit worse. There's been guys in my division and also in the jail that have seen their families also contract the disease the second time around. I won't sit in front of you and say that some of these that these men and women, that some of these frustrations didn't come out at times, because they did. But they did so professionally, they did so privately, they didn't go to social media, they didn't go into the public and naysay the agency, or they didn't naysay the county or the county leaders. They continued to saddle up. They continued to go to work and held their frustrations mostly directed to their supervisors, myself included. There's a quote that's proudly displayed in our office, and it says, "Commitment is doing something that you said you were going to do long after the mood you said it in has passed." I can tell you that mood that they said that they were going to be there and sharp and bright-eyed, bushy-tailed may not be the same as when we interviewed them that first time, but I can tell you that the commitment is strong. And everybody can sleep well tonight, today, and the next day, next year, tomorrow, knowing that these guys will continue to stand watch, whether you decide to do what y'all plan to do or not. I offer these words today in hopes that you all see how truly valuable these men and women are to the community. I hope you are as proud of them as I am. I'm extremely proud of every single one of these men and women. I've worked alongside with them a lot, and hopefully you guys can show that, how proud you are of them with the decision y'all make today. That's all I had today. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Nathaniel Bettis. Welcome.
Bring it down. Hello, I'm Nathaniel Bettis. I've been with Nueces County for 16 years. I've served with the Sheriff's Office. I've served with the Constable's Office. I've served as the Vice President for the Sheriff's Association. And it may sound kind of strange that a constable was the Sheriff's Association Vice President, but we are a combined association, so we stand here together. We thank the court for being supportive of law enforcement. Y'all have supported us with vests, radios, tasers. I have a shiny brand new car. We appreciate that. But we need financial help as well. When COVID hits us, it takes a financial toll on our families and the deputies. Many of them have to work 50-plus hours to supplement their income, which allows them to stay working for Nueces County, because it is no secret that Nueces County is a lower-paying agency. I support everything that these men and women here have said. We ask the court to continue to support law enforcement, but this time we need financial help. Thank you.
Thank you. The next up is Danny LeBras, Captain.
Good evening, Judge, Commissioners. Thank you for having us here and listening to us today. I'm here in support of the hazardous pay, and I hope y'all will consider it, seriously consider it. I understand there might be a consideration 10% across the board. I'm asking, consider maybe 20% for essential personnel. You look around this room, these are the men and women that are out there working every day. Holidays, they don't get to go home early when others get to. They're out there. They're in the jail, they're on the road, they're the ones that take care of the citizens in our county. You know, whenever there's a disaster, everybody's home with their families. They're not. They're as one team out here taking care of everybody. So I just consider that. Consider them working in the jail with COVID and the conditions, that short-staffed as we are. I know we talked a little bit about it, but if you combine corrections and field operations, we're probably over 65 people short. That's a big number, and that's not even including FMLA or those on light duty. the pay for constables and the sheriff's office deputies it's really low. And I know we've come a ways, but we have a ways to go. And when the pay's that low, it affects everything. It affects morale. You can't keep people. We are like a training ground with the sheriff's office. And I'm sure the constable's the same way. People come, we train them, and get them ready to work, and then they move on to bigger and better things. And you can't blame them for that. But we need to keep our people. We train them. We need to keep them so our county police gets better and better. If you compare constables and NCSO to other agencies in the county or even outside the county, our size, there's no comparison. You can't compare us to CCPD or the port or DPS or CCISD, airport. There's just no comparison. That you got their pay here, ours way down here. So it makes it really hard to keep people. And retention is the key. If we can pay more and we can retain some people, and I'm talking about in the jail and in patrol, that's less overtime. That's less we have to pay in overtime. If we can keep people, that's the key, to get filled up and keep people. I have some other things, but that's basically what I wanted to say. I just want to thank y'all very much for listening to me and supporting us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Joey Gonzalez.
Commissioners, once again, I'm up here again. You guys heard what I told you yesterday, so I'm not gonna give you the whole spiel like I did yesterday. But as you can see, we're here as the Nueces County Sheriff Officers Association. We stand united. I'm not gonna go over what everybody else said, but one thing that I didn't mention yesterday, which was brought earlier, is that we get exposed on a daily basis, and the hardest part is going home to your family. And if you have a special needs kid or just little kids at home, and you're bringing that to your kids, and it's very hard. A lot of us have gotten in a routine where we have to go and change out before you can even enter into your house. And so, like everybody said here, we're all in support of hazard pay. We haven't given up. We continue to come to work day in, day out, knowing the bad conditions that we face with COVID. And I'm not going to beat a dead horse. I just want you guys to support the hazard pay. And thank you for allowing us to speak.
Thank you. Tim Rusk.
Judge and Commissioners, I'm Tim Rusk. I'm an Assistant District Attorney, and I'm just one of many, many, many who just want to simply say thank you for passing the budget.
Thank you.
Just emphasizing everything that Angelica and Michelle said, and just to let you know I'm another person, one of everybody who just wants to say thank you.
Simon? Is it Rawls?
Yes, ma'am. Good afternoon. I'm Simon Rawls. I'm also an assistant DA, and I just, like Mr. Rusk, wanted to thank you for passing the budget and giving us that increase that we all wanted and many of us needed, and really appreciative of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Mike Gordon?
Thank you, Judge. Thank you, Commissioners. I'm Mike Gordon. I'm a misdemeanor and felony chief with the DA's office, and I'm kind of the odd one out here in the sense that I've been there for a long time. We don't have a lot of career prosecutors in our office, and the pay has been the reason why. We've been I just started my 16th year here, and in that time I've seen us just basically be a farm team for other DA offices. They come here to get trained up, then they go somewhere else to get paid, just sort of like the officers do. I think that just ended. I think we are now going to be able to attract and retain career prosecutors, which I think will immensely benefit this county and our office. And I'd also like to put in a word for the officers, for the law enforcement people, and their hazardous duty pay. You know, in the military, if you're in a particularly hazardous occupation, combat, for example, you get combat pay. And these people are essentially doing that for us, the citizens of Nueces County. They are there during the natural disasters. They are there taking on COVID in the jail. They are out there dealing with violent criminals on a day-to-day basis. I mean, if that doesn't deserve combat pay, nothing does. And I would like to put in my word for them. Thank you.
Judge, I just wanted to say, I've known Mike Gordon since my hair was all black and he had hair. So, I mean, he's been here a long. Well, I wasn't going to say that. See, so was I.
Still got hair.
Doug Norman.
Thank you, Judge. I won't, take up too much time. I do want to thank you as well. I would like to mention one thing. If you don't think this is having an impact, believe me, it is. There is a good friend of mine who worked for our office for a number of years, a fine attorney, who took a job out of state because she had to. She had student loans, and it was just burdening her. I texted her what happened here today, and in response, she was like, wow, I can't believe it. I think we would have kept her, with that. So you're going to have, I think over the long run, you're going to see a huge increase in, the ability of our office to seek justice for Nueces County. And we sincerely thank you.
Thank you. That concludes the sign-up sheet, but I will give you an opportunity if I did not call upon you and you would like to speak, but I will pivot to Cindy, who shows up just as iPad 8, and ask her to unmute. Cindy, would you like to make public comment?
Yes, I would, please. First of all, I would like to start by thanking our police officers and their families for the services and sacrifices that you make. I genuinely appreciate that. Thank you. Now, I will introduce myself. My name is Cindy Ellis, and my husband and I are new slip owners at the Marina del Sol, Pier 2, slips 42 and 43. I am a newly appointed director on the board. I have been aware and watched the Harbor del Sol Marina for numerous years. I am here to share with the commissioners that in my opinion, the Harbor del Sol Marina HOA has not had strong leadership in leading their HOA. Since a particular board member has left their current board position, the current board is making tremendous efforts to get things back on track. Over 20 personally owned slips and over 50 total if you count the cities. So 75% of the marina is under new ownership in the past few months and 10 in just this past week. New members have vast attributes to work as a whole and transparently while deciphering where the HOA stands and to begin moving forward. I implore the commission to open a new line of communication with the HOA board after its annual meeting tomorrow, where new board members will be selected to discuss plans going forward. A discussion with the new board will be imperative to inform and align the plan the city has to address the sunken boats that are in the slips they foreclosed upon. These sunken boats are and will impede the HOA's effort for cleanup. A discussion will also need to be held regarding the fines the HOA has been issued. I wholeheartedly support the HOA active, keeping the HOA active to allow the community and current board members the ability to proceed. In my opinion, the majority of the new members and those that are current in their responsibilities is to have a safe marina that follows its bylaws and its articles of declaration, state, city, county, and federal mandates, and is an attribute to the owners and the community as a whole. In order to do this, the marina must be given a chance as the new HOA is seated. Oh, I covered my face, I'm sorry. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, ma'am. Coming in the courtroom is Shane Peterson. And let's see, he was waiting in our office. maybe? We'll give him just a second. Here he comes. Shane,
I didn't do it.
I know, you've been voluntold to give public comment, just to give us an update, please. A brief update as to what transpired here this morning, given that we're on the record and also virtually online. It's a nice way to inform the public about their courthouse.
Yes, Your Honor. So this morning, we scheduled a power outage to start at 9 o'clock. In the power outage, we stated that we would be out of power until 11:30, at which time we would start the temporary generators in order to see about a load on the building. We placed the load on the building at 11:30. We had to adjust a couple of things a few times and then place the whole load on the building, both the jail and the courthouse, and it passed. We have one little issue that we're resolving, but it didn't stop the generator from running. The building actually ran on one generator. It's a little bit too much power for it, draw on it, but we have the other one being fixed as we speak, and both generators will run the building. We also did the same test at McKenzie Jail Annex, and it actually came out perfect there also.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Peterson. Okay, I see no further comment online or any hands up. And having completed the commentary here, most of you came today for item number 2A1. So I'll proceed with 2A1, discuss and consider the use of American Rescue Plan Act, otherwise known as the acronym ARPA, for purposes of Nueces County employee raises, including hazard pay and other related matters. And I can think of no finer way to start an agenda than by having the last 30 minutes with the type of commentary that we just heard. I place this item on the agenda because I do concur. I think that the last year and 3/4 has demonstrated what I already knew, that the character of our law enforcement is as strong as oak. And we are in a moment of truth, so to speak. What will you do when you are entrusted with dollars to do good with? We have the ability, for the first time ever, in my opinion, after looking at the books for, these last 3 years and historical glimpse, we have an ability to offer hazard pay to our law enforcement. It is due to the federal funding that comes to us from Congress and the President. And as you all know, there is a way to make a calculation. You just have to crunch some numbers. And so therefore, Commissioners, I have crunched the numbers and I have confirmed those numbers with HR. I do want to say that it is my intention to make a motion for hazard pay for law enforcement, and then I'd like to address differently the ability to help all employees. But as far as hazard pay goes, you will remember that during budget, we had a budget challenge which we met, and that was to adjust for the collective bargaining agreement. So my motion would be that this would not impact that at all. That's separate. That has to do with your agreement. And this would be to commence October 1 of our new fiscal year. It would include all members of law enforcement for Nueces County. And the number that I do propose is 20%. And that is $2,840,096.54, roughly. I will say that I want to be honest. My little paper here, my cheat sheet, had 10%, 12%, and 15%, and it was my intention to do 15%.
I'll second the motion because I had 20%.
Yeah.
But what was compelling was you. And I think that you are in a class all on your own. And that is not to diminish the work that all Nueces County employees have done, especially including the the health department, the ride-out team. There's just too many to name. But the uniqueness of your work puts you in a different class altogether. And I also want to say that we're in the business over here in advocacy and public policy, in the business of county attorneys and district attorneys of advocacy.
Judge-
And you made a great case, Angelica, for your district attorneys. And that is the reason that 10% was given. Because if you don't come and create an argument with justification, it just won't work. But what makes this work is the President of the United States and the Congress who gave us this opportunity. The only caveat that I would like to share with you is that there is a time period that the statute allows us to work with. And that time period is through 2024. But we only work sort of budget to budget. And so what I would like to suggest is that the 20% will be for the fiscal year, and that we, see where we are, in the next fiscal year, and we can do this all over again or not. But that is my thought at this moment. And I'm happy to hear from other commissioners at this time. Commissioner Chesney, you were going to say something?
I was, Judge. I support 100% what you're saying. You kind of stole a little of my thunder, and that's great because I didn't know where we were going to fall, but that was also a number that I was looking at. My question is, I'd like to do this a little differently. I'd like to look at it as a retroactive and a proactive percentage, because the hazard pay that we have should be for the hazardous time that they've already incurred.
Mm-hmm.
So I would like to know if it's legal that, and to maybe consider amending your motion to do it retroactive and proactive. So basically, I'm saying twice 20%, meaning we need to go back and somehow figure out how to pay them for the hazardous time they've already incurred, and pay them for what we know is going to be the hazardous time going forward. So I support your motion, but I would like to go a step further and ask that we do it twice. And I think we have the ability to do that because we're paying these people for the time that they've already gone through hazardous, not going forward. So, and that would be 2.8 million retroactive and 2.8 million going forward.
And
just
all
so
I
I'm
will
clear.
say is that,
Because we have two chunks of money.
so that they can have certainty, maybe we can, give me a chance to go work with Haggerty. The truth is, the act, Commissioner, starts from 3-20, is my recollection, March 2020. But I think the way to have the opportunity to go forward here with certainty, and we have meetings every 2 weeks, I bet you wouldn't mind at all to come back for an occasion such as that. And so why don't we go ahead and take the motion, although I'll hear from others, but that way it gives us a chance to work with our FEMA specialist, and I'll go back and see what that ability is.
Judge, and
Or we could even do subject to, that might be an opportunity.
I would really like to
Okay?
do it today. I don't want them to have to keep coming back because we're taking time away from them and from what they need to do. So we can either do it we can do this motion, and then I can make my own motion for the retroactive, if that would be preferable, and that one could be contingent upon it being
No, I
approved,
think
or-
we can just make it a contingent upon, as long as we make the motion that it's 20% starting October 1st is absolute certainty. And then we could have, and then subject to,
And then the 20%.
refinement, 20%,
Retro.
retroactive to, but it would be most likely to the date that the act allowed us, which if I believe correctly, although I'm going to look online and see if Kaylin's on, not yet, but I think March 2020
Which is a
was
whole
the
year,
date.
so that's plenty, that's way more than a year. So I'm good with however we want to voice it, as long as the intent is clear that to do retroactive 20% and proactive 20%, and that's what the county clerk has that, and the staff has all that, and that's a good motion for Jenny. I think 100% we can do what you're saying going forward, and I don't think there's going to be anything that prohibits us retroactive. But again, if we want to have a say, just to make double sure that we can do that. But I just want to make sure they all know, are there in the room, that this court as a whole is 100% behind them, 100% supports the fact that, in my opinion, there is, and I do not mean this as a slight to other employees, and I think we need to also consider the civilian employees also. I think the people in this room, the civilian employees that also worked in the jail, which should be included in this too, not just, because, and I think y'all would probably agree with that. I would hope you would, because those civilian employees who were there on the front lines, not in the jail as much, but were helping and supporting, I would think y'all would support that too, but we need to add some clarification to make sure that gets included. But I have always said, and I think everyone on this court has always said, and it's not a slight to others, there is no one in a class of employees, no offense, but higher than law enforcement, in my opinion. That does not degrade anyone else from their jobs. I love all the lawyers. I love all the people that do what they do, the public works folks. I think we're going to try to help them next. But to me, and I think everyone on this court, and I don't speak for everyone, I don't try to, but I don't think anybody's going to disagree that there is no one besides first responders that deserve as much as we can possibly do for them. So that's, I support the spirit of your motion. That's why I wanted to add to it and make sure we give them as much as we possibly can, because you're right, we've got 2 chunks of money, and we've got to do this over a period of time, and that doesn't mean we can't come back again and do it for a third time if we're continuing to be in this pandemic, which it looks as though we could do. And so I strongly support doing it retroactively and proactively, and I don't think there's any doubt, but I do have some clarification and want to, and I'm happy to listen to y'all as far as the civilian folks. To me, the civilian in the jails, if y'all don't think that's the right thing, I just want to
we're
make
going to
sure.
get there, because that's a whole different discussion. And it needs to be articulated that way, because remember, let's just, there has to be, in other words, all county employees.
Judge,
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Give me a second
Go back to the
include
motion.
What Commissioner Chesney just said, if you're going to do your motion too.
Yes, I'll take yours as a second, Commissioner.
Thank you.
And so the intent today is, subject to verification on the retro, is to do a retro 20% and a pro, and of going forward 20%, where I guess they would get that one monthly, right? Is that how you're?
Well, again, I'm going to have to work with the auditors. What I'm going to say is, let's get the motion on file.
Okay.
We have only 2 weeks till October 1st. We're going to have to ask for your patience just a little bit, but I promise you, it'll be well worth it. But as you know, we need to create that documentation, even though, by the way, just a little bit of background for these dollars, we got half of them up front. Okay? We have another half coming next year, but it isn't like you just get it and you don't ever have to account for it. There's a tremendous amount of paperwork, and as a matter of fact, tomorrow we're having the first of a series of workshops with the community to say, how would you like to see these dollars invested? Because there were categories that they wanted us to invest to stimulate the economy, right? That was the whole purpose of it. They wanted us to get paid back for lost revenues and to use those lost revenues as government services. They wanted us to invest in water and sewer infrastructure. They wanted us to invest in broadband access to bridge the digital divide. And they wanted us to look at hazard and premium pay. Okay, and also mental health and infrastructure technology. There was a real sense from Congress how they wanted us to look at this. And so even though it's got a big bucket out there, we want to make sure that the community, by the way, I feel very confident when the community hears what this policymaking body has done, they will resoundingly applaud. Having said that, there's still other monies that need to be appropriated, and we want to give the community that opportunity. And that's what tomorrow's session is all about. And so, commissioners, I would like to give you guys an opportunity as well. Commissioner Modis.
Excuse me, Judge. Oh, go ahead.
Commissioner Modis, please.
I agree with the 20% and interesting take on adding it on or retroactive. I support what you're saying, that we just need to make sure that it gets all checked off through Hagerty, through our consultants for this money. It's not that we're saying no. And in fact, I don't even think y'all were asking for 20%, again, it looks like that's what you're going to get, and I totally support that. So I would just say let the judge work along with staff, see if we can get you the 20% the second time as well, and work that out. But I think it looks like, 20% is there, and I wholeheartedly support it, believe in it. I do believe also in support that we need to keep these items separate, because I kind of wrote down law enforcement is essential personnel, but, like first responder, and then we have essential personnel who were our parks people and our public works who did a lot of the work and set up as well in response to COVID that didn't necessarily deal hands-on like we see out in the field or in the jail, but I think should be at a little bit different level as well, not quite at 20%, but I think there needs to be a few levels, but that my commitment is that everyone get an increase today, at least 10%, at least for all of your fellow county staff. And I do agree with the civilian personnel in law enforcement that had a big part in what y'all do as well, need to be considered also for the 20% because they were a big part of your team and you being able to do your work also. So that's my commitment and my support, so.
And also, there is a matter of electeds, and so I need to have that offline conversation. Typically, electeds do not, we don't do those types of things. I mean, and so that would be my motion when we get there, okay? But we just don't, we're in a different class too, and that class is called public service and responsibility, and I don't believe that we're in that business, so.
Agreed.
Yeah, that's understandable.
Yeah, so I'm sorry, Sheriff Hooper, you are also a hero and a first responder, but I think that would be an important, consistent message to have with electeds. But
I don't know, Judge, that's a different elected, I'm gonna have to, I may have to.
well, I'm going to have to have that, I'm going to have that discussion with him, as I said. This is not about one individual today. This is about taking care of his people. And that's something that we should have
Let's
differently.
get this one done out of the way.
Right, I agree.
Excuse me, Judge, I also agree with Commissioner Chesney and Gonzalez. I believe these people are well deserving of this, what Commissioner Chesney proposed. It's been long overdue. I do know of one person that worked in the Sheriff's Department, not in the jail area, but she also contracted COVID. And she didn't go back to work then because she really got sick. So I think everybody should be considered what Commissioner Chesney and Gonzalez have proposed, and I agree with that. And of course, we'll work with our other employees to give them a fair also payment, that's well deserved, because everybody really put their lives out in danger. So I agree with Commissioner Gonzalez and Chesney.
Okay.
For all?
Yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and restate my motion and try to clarify.
This will be a good one.
Here we go, let's try this. So in response to the consideration of the American Rescue Plan Act, otherwise known as ARPA, for purposes of Nueces County employee hazard pay for law enforcement, including all those, it might be best to say sheriff's office in law enforcement and constables in law enforcement. And again, there might be others that are going to get caught in, and that's why I need to work with Joe, to be honest with you, because I need to see sort of that roster with HR, Joe. There might be somebody in CI,
If I may suggest that maybe we just say everybody in the collective bargaining agreement.
That's the better way to say it.
That
That
encompasses
covers
everybody,
all of law
including the 5
enforcement.
constable officers, the Nueces County Sheriff's Office.
That's an excellent
And so
point.
that's like the catch-all, everybody who's in the collective bargaining agreement.
Let's go ahead and do
What about
that.
the civilian employees?
Just, we're going
Do
to
you wanna
get there
include?
in just a second, Commissioner. We're going to
Okay.
do that with Nueces County employees
Well,
because
but I
there's
think that's a different-
ramifications. I realize that, but let's do this first. This motion is for law enforcement right now. The next one has huge implications you need to hear about for HR. So we've got to make certain that we get there. Again, there's, let's do this piece. Teresa?
Environmental enforcement, are they included in that?
Yes.
About them.
Okay.
They're not part of collective bargaining, though.
But they're not part of collective bargaining, so they would go on the Nueces side. That's what I'm saying here. I like Joe's suggestion. The collective bargaining encompasses those that are, quite frankly, the ones that we are considering, okay? If the motion becomes, where we wind up, Joe, there's somebody that needs to be considered, we can always come back, right? I mean, this is not a.
Absolutely,
This is
Judge.
a living,
It's a fluid,
this is a
moving
fluid,
thing,
right,
yes, ma'am.
policy that we are creating right now. So.
Correct.
Again, back to the motion for the clerk, that the motion is to, for the use of ARPA funds to be used for hazard pay for all those under the collective bargaining agreement at the rate of 20% to commence on October 1, 2020, and then potentially contingent upon the ARPA constraints of hazard pay retroactively from perhaps the appropriate date that ARPA allows such designation.
For the second pay.
No, I know.
So the clear intent is.
The clear intent is to go retroactive to the extent that ARPA allows, okay?
And I-
conformity with the interim rule, Judge?
And let me tell you why it's tricky, Commissioner Chesney, and just give me a second, Julie. We do not have final rules yet out of ARPA, okay? We're on interim rules. We need, and actually it's bizarre because they actually use the word final interim rule, but we're not at final rules. And that's why the retroactive to me was something I wanted to take care of when the statute has its final rulemaking. When they pass these laws in Congress, then they start writing the rule book, okay? But you've heard our heart and you've heard our intent. Both our mind and our heart will try to get there. But I like clean motions so that we can have clean directives for the auditor. Having said that, Julie, what can you add?
I would like to include the cadet corrections officers for recruitment purposes.
Okay.
And they're not part of the collective bargaining unit at this time.
And Judge, we concur with that because that's one of our biggest problems is those cadets. And so that would be definitely very beneficial to bringing new blood into the sheriff's office and maintaining. And it's a huge retention tool.
Right, but that may not be if they're not here yet, that may not be an example of retroactive.
But the ones that are here, we have cadets that are employed
Right,
and
but
they've
I'm
been
saying-
employed for the last year.
That's what I was
Okay.
going to ask.
All right, so we
That
can-
way the retro still covers them too, and it doesn't cover people that aren't here.
That's
Right, it would
correct.
include them, the ones that have been here and working.
That's correct. Okay, so again, it would be those for the clerk under the collective bargaining agreement and those members of the current staff of cadet correctional officers, to have them also be included in the retroactive 20%.
Judge, is this going to be upon, like, sign up, or is it only members that are already in within the recruitment
And just, for
process, or-
recruitment, we really do need to work this out. I'd like to hold on that because we can bring it back. We might want to say you have to at least be here for 6 months to, again, when we talk about being a training ground, we want to make certain that I think that's something, Joe, we could sit and work through.
Okay. And to answer your question, Commissioner Midas, everybody, all our positions are fully funded. So like the constable's office, all those positions are encompassed already. So everybody, they fall under the umbrella whether there's a vacancy or not. Those people are already there and they're budgeted at 100%.
No, I know, I'm just saying, I don't want somebody showing up day one, getting their 20% and
Well,
taking
that's-
off. So we
right.
gotta put a
Well, but they
time
would only-
constraint on that. All of you
Absolutely.
who've been here
Right.
since
Well,
however long.
The retro pay, I mean, I don't know how you guys are gonna do that. If you do it as
Right, I
a
wish-
one-time lump sum, that's
Yeah,
up to
I
you. But
really
going
wish
forward, we can go as a, as a day by
Yeah,
day.
to be honest with you, what I really wish the court would consider is making this a clean motion for 20% for October 1 going forward, and then give me at least 2 weeks to put something together that really helps identify. It's better than misleading somebody or.
Judge, I think we could do it, what I suggested earlier was do it in 2 motions. One, if you want to make it clean, because I don't want anybody leaving here.
Hey, I don't think they're leaving here with anything but
I get it,
smiles.
but if it's not a motion and voted on, then it's not final, and everybody knows that. So, I mean, I think you could make it in 2 clean motions, which is what I suggested earlier, and you just make the first motion that it's 20% and they get it monthly going forward, and then you make a second motion and you say, subject to the legalities, they get a one-time retro pay for those, and
Yeah.
it's got to be for how long they were here. right? I
Well-
mean, if they were here 6 months, their retro pay would be for
Correct.
6
Right,
months.
all
If
I'm
they're here
saying
for
to
the whole
you,
year,
yeah, all I'm saying is that I think through
easy.
Joe and our council, we can work out a document that makes sense for everybody. And I'm happy to have a motion to memorialize the spirit of the document, but I would like to finalize that document in another court proceeding.
Okay.
So that you guys also bless it. You also, I'm certain, don't want to have somebody waltz in, right? And not have, there's got to be some parameters that you want as well.
Right.
That I think that when we work together can solidify what would be a great recruitment tool. Because that's the point of the cadets being put forth, is that it's a wonderful recruitment tool. But it's not wonderful if, as Commissioner Motta says, they come in and then there's some sort of a revolving door. And by the way, there's all kinds of great templates and precedents for doing these types of recruitment tools on what they call the premium pay. So if that's
Judge-
acceptable, I would like to hear from Joe, I mean, what you think,
Yeah,
if there's
I mean, we can,
advantages there.
You know, I would like for the court to make the motions today, so we can at least
Sure.
vote on it, and then
We can
move,
do
and then we
that.
can move forward and have another sit down a little down, you know, further down the road. But our intent today, I'm sure everybody's in concurrence with me, but we just want to get it done today.
Yeah,
So,
no doubt. And like I said, we're going to memorialize it. Just want to articulate that the detail with regards specifically when you're putting in the
correct.
cadets,
And then
that
we can
work
sit
that
down,
out.
you know, you, the county attorney, Julie, and myself.
Absolutely.
And our people with Cleat, and we can, you know, we can hash
Ab-
those things out down, a little down the road.
absolutely.
But let's get the, you know, let's get the deal done.
Absolutely.
You want both motions today?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Can we
Yeah,
just- can we
well,
start-
again, I already have, we're good. We have one motion.
Right,
No.
can we withdraw, well, I think we should. If you want a clean motion, I would again suggest that we start over, you make your motion, what you originally made, and then I'll make a second motion, what that I added, and then you have two clean motions, and it's not confusing, and we go on down the road.
Well, I think,
40%.
What's that? No,
40%.
listen, I'll,
because they want it now.
just
Retro's
so you
now.
know, just so you know, I don't think it's a problem. I think the motion stands, quite frankly. All I'm letting you know is that we're going to bring back a document that helps you figure out how to really create a great retainment program.
We're good with it, Judge.
I think that's fine. So as they say, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Pose same sign.
Who did the second? We need a second.
Yeah, one motion.
Judge, while they're.
Judge,
while
on behalf of the Nueces County Sheriff Officers Association and Cleat, we want to thank you guys. You know, it definitely shows us that you guys, you know, definitely put your money where your mouth is, and that goes a long ways. And this is going to very well boost morale with the constable's office and also within the sheriff's office. And we are very grateful for that. Thank you very much on behalf of everybody.
Judge,
Okay?
Thank you.
Hold on, hold on. Judge, I wanted to bring up.
Thank you, Julie.
I wanted to bring up one other thing while they're here, is I wanted to address the deceased officers. I don't know if we need to make that as a specific motion. I think they need some hazard pay. And I don't know how would work, but I want to make sure that their family's included in this and the hazard pay, and I want to make sure that gets.
And Commissioner, that's a great idea. That's something that I guess me and the county judge and Julie can work on once we meet again to
Right.
Okay,
kind of
so
hash out the details.
Do we need to make that as a motion to make
No,
sure
we-
that that's included? Because I want to make sure that they get included in this. So I would just move that the
Up to you if
deceased.
you want to make a motion.
I want to make that motion.
Wait
that- yeah,
a second. Okay, so all we
That
have.
the deceased officer family is included in the retro hazard pay for as long as back as we can go, as we're going.
That'd be great.
I think I would just do it as an addendum, you know?
I made a motion, and I just want to do it as a
To,
motion, so I
right.
mean, I don't want to.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, I would just say that will you restate it, so for the clerk?
Yes, Judge, I would just make a motion that the deceased officer's family is included in the hazard pay for the Sheriff's Officers Association and the collective bargaining.
Second motion.
It wasn't very well said, but I think you know what I meant. Thanks.
Okay. And all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Okay.
You guys be safe and God bless you.
Thank y'all.
Thank you all very much, and we really appreciate everything you do. Thank you.
Thank you,
Y'all be
guys.
safe. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
And thank you, Julie.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Judge, Commissioners.
Item for more. Are you staying on this item for more votes? Are you staying on this item for more votes? Or the- okay.
Yes, thank
Okay,
you.
I just
So
added.
sorry, I don't know what, I think it was just the noise in the back.
Okay.
Okay, just give it a chance. It's so, what happens is the noise in the room affects the video, so let's hang on that just for a moment till those doors. Okay, so now we're going to move to basically discussing employee raises, and Julie's got new numbers, as you might imagine.
And this is hazard pay, Judge, not raises, right?
Actually, it's not. It's not hazard pay. I want to,
Potential. I think,
it would be called premium pay.
okay.
So hazard pay has a little bit of a different nuance. Let's go ahead and have the discussion, and then, to be honest with you, I think the Haggerty team, and they've sent me a document.
So we can do premium pay for
Well,
non-first
the
responders?
the idea would be here is, as Commissioner Matas had said, that Nueces County employees, if we were to do, and I've got to get is Julie, did she leave? Darn it. Okay, let's see if I can get her back, but I think I've got the numbers right here. If somebody could get her, that would be really helpful. I got it right here, never mind. Okay, so remembering that this is a 1 year, in effect, potential raise, and if you were, and the DAs already, we just gave them the 10%. So if these numbers I provide to you are excluding those 10%.
GAs.
Okay, correct. And of course, excluding what we just did here. And if you did a 10% increase, and it's a huge number, so I'm going to have Julie come in and give you what that population is, that census, but it's 3.326.960, so $3,326,000 for 10%. And it goes all the way to, for 12%, it's $4 million.
So Judge, sorry.
Excuse me, if
No,
I
my
could
bad.
just finish.
My bad.
My concept here was that this one requires a tremendous amount of effort with the auditor's office and with Haggerty on qualifying people. And my suggestion here was to start this particular 10% on January 1, because that would give us 3 months to truly create, quite frankly, the mechanism in
Past
order
Jan-
to do this.
This past January or this coming January?
It would start, it's for this fiscal year. It's just to create an opportunity for our folks to have across the board, what we could not do in budget, right? What we did in budget was tackle the district attorney's office and some selective offices, like the county attorney's 1 and 2 positions, okay? That's about, in ARPA, all right? But what we did not do is everybody else. And so the proposal is excluding electeds, if we were to do 10% across the board, and we could qualify that, starting January 1, that would be 3.3, well, actually, these numbers, Julie, were on a 12-month basis. So it'd be a little less, but 3.3 million is 10%, and then, let me go back to your numbers, I just got them off. And then 4 million is the 12%.
That's a full year, Judge.
That's a full year. And then 15% is 5 million. And so my proposal was, since we did 10% for the DA, and that is half absorbed in the general fund, in order to be consistent, if we were going to be consistent, the idea was 10% across the board would be $3.3 million. And we could begin that at January 1. And then run through the fiscal year.
I don't want to mess up the numbers because I know there's a lot of time and effort put into them, but as I mentioned earlier, when our law enforcement was in here, I kind of came up with 3 quick levels, and the second would be essential personnel. And to me, that's our public works, that's our inland parks, our coastal parks, anyone of that staff, social services, who were a part day in and day out, 5 in the morning, getting out there, close proximity, setting up all our barricades, all of our facilities from Memorial Coliseum, helping out American Bank Center with our city partners, all the way to Robstown and the parts out into the rural part of the county. They did a lot of above and beyond work. And I think that that's what, to me, premium pay should be for that group. I know it may be hard to categorize every position because someone may say, oh, well, I was pulled one day to cover this. I would say it's got to be the groups that were essentially there pretty much on a daily or a regular basis when we were called for testing or for vaccine administration and now for infusion. So like I said, I'm thinking inland parks, I'm thinking public works, just to name at least those 2, and there may be more. But those to me are important that we set at a higher rate, even maybe a 12% if we do everyone else at least a 10%, and that covers and honors the work that they did and the early mornings and late nights that they had for days and days, weeks on end without breaks. So that would be all I would ask that we can include. The numbers, we can talk all about them all day, but if we could at least make that distinction a little bit higher, I think that would be important for me.
I agree with you, Commissioner, but I think I would add the code enforcement because they were out there helping also. And not only that, but they go through trash trying to find things when there's there's something out there to find who belongs to. So I would include the code enforcement officer with those 3. So it's a four divisions. Code enforcement, inland parks, coastal parks, and.
I think you're going to find a very hard-pressed argument to find out who was not essential in COVID. I would suggest that if it were not for the county clerks, I could not have posted any orders. If it were not for the district clerks, I would not have been able to run the courts during COVID. If it were not for it, that's going to be the hard part. And I'll be honest with you, there is a finite amount of dollars, and so what you want to do is allow yourself to reward the premium pay and let it do its job to stimulate this economy and to reward. But I would say that think about what it's going to be like if you find, I'm going to agree with you. When Rebecca Rock went inside people's homes, she is at a different level than when somebody's safely inside their home, working remotely, or a courthouse. But we all sort of work in tandem. And what I wrestled with is how we were going to differentiate. The only differentiation in my mind is inside the jail. And that is why law enforcement is at a completely different location. And everybody else has to be treated equally, otherwise you're going to have a lot of discontent.
I agree, I kind of agree with that.
But I really appreciate it because the people that you're mentioning did find themselves in harm's way.
And Judge, that's the struggle for me on this one. The law enforcement was easy. This is a struggle for me because, and I think we've done so much for employees and we can always do more, but I'm trying to figure out what this premium pay is supposed to be about because there were a lot of our employees who never were in harm's way because they stayed at home and they worked. It doesn't mean they did, and they did their jobs and they got full pay and they got full PTO and they didn't get furloughed. And so I think there's a great distinction between those people and the people who had to get out and work in the fields all the time. So I think there are 2 very distinct categories of people that we should be looking at because quite honestly, and I know this doesn't make me real popular, but I'm going to be honest, there's an argument that says there's some that maybe should they get premium pay at all. Now, I'm not advocating that. I'm saying, okay, if we can legally do this, and that's what these funds are for, okay, but just because we have this pot of money, we shouldn't just spend it just to spend it. We need to make sure it works, in my opinion. And number two, I think there are distinct categories of people that were out in the field on a regular basis, and we could argue about that, but I think it's important to say, look, for the people who got to stay at home and not come to work and not ever put themselves in harm's way, that's an advantage that they got. That is a huge advantage that they got that the others didn't, and so therefore there should be a distinction for those who were in harm's way and for those who weren't. And I think to not try to go through that list and do it is not fair or proper. It's not, I mean, I'm sure if we'd have said, hey, we're going to give you premium pay, some of them might have come to work more and might have stayed home, but we didn't know that was out there. But if what we're trying to do is say, look, for those of you who went the extra mile, you're getting the extra pay, then we've got to be consistent. And consistent means we may have to take the time to really go through this one and say, okay, where's the line, right? And no offense, but there are a lot of departments that they never were in harm's way and they didn't lose their job, their PTO. If they qualified for overtime, they got it. So they were already paid for all these things. This is an extra level that we're trying to say, hey, law enforcement, you went the extra 10 miles, right? Here's the next group that went the extra 3 miles, and here's the group that, well, okay, they did their jobs, stayed at home, we appreciate the heck out of them, we paid them, we didn't furlough them, whatever, and we're still going to give you something, but I do feel like there's a distinction, and I think we have to take the time to make that distinction. If I'm in the minority on that, I'm okay with that, that's life, we move on, but I do think it's worth at least taking some time to go through that, and if we do it today, great. If we don't, that's fine. And again, we can send the message, hey, we're going to give people something, but we just can wait and figure out who that is, or y'all can vote it today, and that's okay. I put my feelings on the record, and I can live with whatever the court does.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
I do want to tell you there's a lot of rules when it comes to salaries, and on that 20%, I need to let you know that this is why we need time to work with the auditor's office. There is an aggregate amount not to exceed 25,000. I think they already knows that.
What does that mean, to not to exceed? How does that work?
25, that's what I'm saying to you. There's just a ton of, so I have to be very thoughtful about working with them. There's also, when you do premium pay in an amount up to $13 per hour in addition to wages, there are rules as to when you say, what is premium pay? So I just have to tell you that what we could do is, in the spirit of what we did for law enforcement, is, my intention is to make a motion to have across the board 10%. And then to have it started on January 1, because that gives us time to make certain there's different categories of folks. For example, if I took, let's say, the medical examiner, just take example, and we know that his pay is X, I can tell you that 10% of his pay is greater than the $25,000, right? So that would not work, right? And so it would be less than. So what I was hoping is, in the spirit of, there are very few job titles that have those types of salaries, it would be fair to say that it would affect very few people, the 25,000, very few.
Can we differentiate and still add on, like if we did 10%, but say 2% additional hazard pay for list out positions? So I just, because I think we've already, we know some, and there's still maybe more, like, I totally forgot about medical examiner and read an article about all these MEs and their staff getting contaminated.
Right.
All these scenarios that they've been in all over the country. So they would need to be added, but capped at a level. But I just, like I said, I mean, we can talk all day on, if it's 10%, I think that's great. Do we go up to for 12, add the 2% maybe hazard pay to make that difference, just to show that they are and were in scenarios that are dangerous, more dangerous, I agree, than if you are able to be remote or in the office. But let's not discount, we had entire departments wiped out from COVID, so I mean, everyone was exposed. But if we can add in the hazard pay for those positions and allow you and Julie time to work up a list along with the auditors and of course counsel on this, to give us that difference. I agree. If it's 10%, great, 10% across the board, but there's got to be at least a little bump because to acknowledge
I agree with that.
what they're
Yeah,
doing now.
and-
How do we know that, why did we come up with the number today if we're not even sure about all the rules and regulations? I mean, how are we voting on this percentage with premium pay? We knew a lot about the law enforcement pay because that was hazard pay. I'm just trying to figure out, why can't we just pass a motion that says we're going to give a raise and come back with the numbers later because we don't even know all the rules? We're sitting here, I can't even get all my questions answered on the rules.
Well, if just a little bit of take a deep breath, we had a document that was produced earlier this year regarding the interim final rules. And there is a recognized essential critical infrastructure sector. So there's people that are automatically in those sectors, like public health, healthcare, education, transportation. And then it defines premium pay. But if premium pay would increase a worker's total pay above 150% of their residing state average, which I don't think this would do, given that here's where Nueces County can help their workers. When you're so low, we're not really in danger of going 150%. But because of the Korn Ferry study, Julie has already kind of looked at that, and we know exactly where we were. Let me give you a great example. I asked Julie, if you put everybody 10% across the board, what would that do to the 25% of the 85% of the annual median salary? And she said, I said, would it get us to 25%? She said, absolutely not. So that is how you know that you are so low. Because so I believe we can be very comfortable with 10%. Having said that, if we allow the process to begin in January, we could bring forth a complete document, right? But just like you gave to law enforcement, you wanted them to leave with certainty. It's my desire to have all county employees know that they're valued. And then if you want to come back and do a 2% on top for hazard pay for certain groups based upon a justification, we could look at that. But
And do that retroactive too, Judge?
so the way the rule works is it starts at the time the public emergency starts. And so the way you know when that starts is when the governor declared the disaster. And that is why I use the date March. Okay? So March of 2020 is when I issued the local disaster, the same day, like an hour later after the governor. And so I believe, you have to understand what the dollars are. I mean, I do agree with Commissioner Chesney. I mean, it's very important to put forth what your will is, which is what this object of this agenda item is, but you should also know what the dollars and cents are, because that's what we call responsibility. So I think that just like you wanted to share with law enforcement, we can basically say that it's the spirit of the motion to provide for Nueces County employees starting January 1. And that was going to be my motion. And if you want to do more, that's something that we could talk about, but at least start at the floor. You can always build to a ceiling, but the floor is 10% in my mind, and it starts January 1 to give us a chance to work with the auditor's office to find out, to make certain that all the rules regarding the 150%, there's 3 rules. It's the 150% of the state average, not to exceed, 25,000 not to exceed, and then there's like an hourly wage, $13 per hour, not to exceed.
And everybody-
Francisco's doing that, yeah. And we have been going over these quite frequently with the auditor.
And so hazard pay is pretty obviously defined. It's a one-time type situation for hazard. This is premium pay, meaning.
A fiscal year.
Right, but meaning that everyone needs to understand that at the end of it, it goes away.
That's correct.
Right, whatever it is.
As does the hazard.
No, right, absolutely, but I want to, again, because people get used to seeing it in their checks.
No,
it's
it
a little
needs to be
scary,
very
and
defined.
People need to be understanding of that, but again, I don't know, and I want to give everybody something. I just think I just think the categories need to be defined, and I think there's a large difference, and if everybody else doesn't, then okay, we can move forward, but I just think I don't think we're sending the right message to give the same amount to everyone across the board. I just don't think it's right. I don't discount the people that you know, there's nothing wrong, I didn't do anything wrong, but I just think it's wrong to just give it across the board, because that, to me, that says to the people who were out there the wrong thing, and it says to the people who stayed at home and didn't have to be in harm's way, they got a great deal out of it, and I
Right.
appreciate that. but
I
think
understand
that's
your
just-
perspective. I just liken it to the military. The guy that's running comms to the SEALs, if he didn't have comms, those SEALs wouldn't be able to do their job. They're in harm's way, but the guy on the radio is making the life and death decisions and relaying it. And I'm going to tell you, if you take IT.
That's a rough comparison, Judge. That's a really
Well,
rough comparison
that's
to compare.
maybe because,
people from-
honestly-
No offense, but to compare people and I'm not picking on, but to compare people in HR to running the comms to where we can't survive, I'm sorry, I don't mean to pick on HR, but they have a very important role, but we paid them, they got overtime, they did all these things.
Okay, well,
There's other departments that I could say too. I think.
I
to
understand
compare
that. I
is
just
not
think
fair.
that,
That's not a fair
I
comparison.
understand that's your perspective.
I'm just saying I don't agree.
I just feel very differently since, quite frankly, I know exactly how, for example, if IT did not support those in the field, we would not be able to save lives
they
because
got paid.
everything runs with IT.
But they got paid well, and they stayed at home, and they got paid well, and they got overtime, and they got furloughs.
Okay, it's just
and they
a-
got super well paid. Well, people were losing their jobs.
Yeah,
So we've
so-
got to distinguish, but if y'all don't want to,
I
that's
hear
okay.
you, I hear your perspective, but the history of our county and the Corn Ferry study indicates differently. It
That's different,
indicates
Judge.
that we're very,
That's a
very.
whole different argument, too. The Corn Ferry Study has
Right.
nothing to do with this.
Okay, I hear you.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So,
Judge,
Commissioner?
I just want to make sure I got this right. So in January, but we're going to do the same thing we did with law enforcement, where in January it'd be retroactive pay, right?
So law enforcement's totally different.
So no, but the first 10,000 that we're going to do with the employees.
10%.
10%.
I'm sorry, 10%, that's going to be the retroactive pay, right?
No, she's
No,
saying that would
sir.
be different.
It's just right now. It just says right now for 2021,
'Cause it's not hazard.
2022.
You're saying hazard is different than premium. Hazard can be treated differently than premium, is what I think you're saying. So you can't do retro premium.
You know, you
can-
probably could. I
Okay.
want to be honest with you.
Okay.
I believe that I read the statute that you could, but what I'm suggesting this court do is just acknowledge that in this budget cycle, we wanted to do more, but all we could do, for those of us that did it, was vote to do 10% for the DAs. And we did tackle a few with ARPA, like the county attorneys on her 2 positions. We did that, but that's all we could do. What today's agenda item is about is saying, what if we had more money? What would you have done? And I'm here to offer that the American Relief Plan Act, as I read premium pay, allows us to do more for this one moment in time. And I agree with you, it needs to be clearly articulated that it's a moment in time. And then it goes away. And the only thing I would suggest to give us time to do it correctly is start at January 1. Now, does that seem, and then if, for example, for the DAs, they have longevity, right? Because we know that we put it in the budget, 50% of which was funded by the general fund. So in my opinion, they have more, they're on more solid rock, right? Because they know they're going to continue because they're in the budget. These don't know that they're going to be in the budget. I would love it if it would be able to be sustainable, but at $3.3 million a year, I doubt that that's sustainable, right? So I believe that we can have it for this 1 year, and to say, it has taken a tremendous toll on our county, and every department, there's not one department that hasn't been affected, I don't believe, for COVID. I think every department has had COVID positives or, COVID in their family, with their dependents. We've asked extraordinary things, of them, so that is the difference, but I don't want you to leave with premium pay not being able to go backwards. I think the rules might be able to accommodate that, but I'm not suggesting that. I'm just
Well-
saying January 1 to the end of our fiscal year, that's when we would start a 10% across the board for employees. That's the motion.
Or can I just, for discussion,
Sure.
if you're going to get it. So again, if you're going to say, if the theory is we're paying them for what they did, then shouldn't it be a one-time retro payment only and do it retro for them only and not do it forward because until next year for them because they've already gone.
You know, it works out actually the same amount of months. And if that makes everybody happy, the only thing is that, it is the same thing on the amount of months. If I calculate January, February, March,
Well,
yeah.
maybe, yeah, maybe.
see what I'm
a little-
saying?
I mean,
It's
we could do
either-
it for a certain, you could do it for the same certain period of time retro that you're proposing. In
Right.
other
I
words, you
think
could
it's
say,
9 months in here or 9 months back.
right, so if we're,
That's just a philosophy. I don't think it would matter to the employee.
they'd probably rather
Whether
get it
it's
now.
9 months yesterday or 9 months tomorrow, but, because it's going to get paid at the same exact time.
So, yeah, I mean, if you did it, you know, if
The
you're
one time you
paying,
look at it.
yeah, if you're paying
You
for,
could categorize it that way.
you could say, if
9
the
months.
premium, right, a 9-month premium pay retro at whatever percentage the court comes up with, and that's what we do today, and
I
then,
have no problem with that. I
revisit
mean,
it
I think that it turns out to be exactly the same. The only thing I'm going to ask is a little bit of grace, because we do have a lot of work to do on making certain that, as I said, that nobody falls inside that strange little parameter. And we just have to make sure that that works. And then there's the other thing, which recognizes that COVID continues, right? So the court would be acknowledging that we would end at the, are you going to, if you end it on the fiscal year, it shortens the time. But if you're just saying it's an amount of months from now, right? In March, it really shortens the time period.
yeah, I'm just saying, if we're trying to,
I could just say 9 months.
yeah, if we're trying to give these people pay for what they went through, because we don't know what the future holds, right? Then we know, I mean, I feel certainly that law enforcement's going to be in the middle of this forever. I don't know that I feel certain that that's the case with everybody else. So you could say a 9-month retro one-time payment of whatever percent the court wants to come up with, and you know,
I'll amend. I think I think if,
Just a
particularly if it
suggestion.
gets you to vote with us, I'll amend. I think that makes perfect sense. I've got an amendment to that motion that it become, and the reason I said 9 months is because I'm counting January to September, so 9-month retroactive premium pay for all county employees at 10%. And that means if you joined today, you wouldn't get it, right? Because
One day.
Right.
you would get 1 day or, you know.
and the only thing that I would just ask for consideration on this is to come up with some differentiation, and if the answer is no, the answer is no, but I still think there should be categories, and maybe it should be, as John's, maybe it should be
More.
8 and 12, or, you know, something that's, you know, there's a little more spread. I don't want to get too close to law enforcement because I think they ought to be way ahead of everyone else. John threw out the 12 number, so I'm just, again.
The only difficulty with this, and I'm going to bring it up, is the district attorney's office, because the dollars that I had, okay, don't count them. So I just need to disclose that. If you're going retroactive, it would not, right? So if you're saying to the district attorneys, this is for past work, then they would have to be included, and that would be another $500,000. The reason I had set it up from January on is because the DAs were already taken care of on that 10% for the future.
That's a
You
good
see,
point.
That is why I set it up that way.
That's a fair point. That's a fair point.
And that way, it's a consistent. So but I think that the spirit of it is that we're trying to create a scenario today in real time that helps our families. And, you know, it's not for us to say how you use those dollars, whether you save them, whether you spend them, whether they help you alleviate medical bills or student loans, but we know it will help.
But, okay, Judge, and that's a very good point, but here's another point. Let's say if we're trying to give premium pay for people who've been here and people leave and new people come on and they get premium pay because they weren't even here, because, you know, like all the new hires, that's going to get, because if we do the going forward and it's across the board, then that's going to include someone who comes in as a new hire who didn't do anything for the county during COVID. How do you deal with that too? I think that's got to be, you can't give new hires who haven't been here. Could you?
What we could do
could you
is, that's why I wanted to do January 1, because we know we have some new hires coming in, okay? And I thought if we started at January 1, that would give us time to have everybody settle in. Because remember, there were new positions that were granted by our budget. And the truth is, we are still in COVID.
So your January 1 proposal does not include the DA office?
That does not.
Okay, you've discussed that with the DA office and
Well,
just to be sure?
like I said,
No.
it just, all it does is say to them what they said in here is, we want everyone to get 10%. We wish everybody could get 10%.
And they get 10% forever.
And they get 10% forever.
right.
So
No,
theirs is locked and loaded. Ours, this one is just a 1 year, and really less than a year. It's 9 months, but it is a tremendous boost that you could really plan for, knowing the first of the year, you've got this, you know.
It could be 2 years, who knows?
Well, again, it's all about the amount of
Yeah, it's a lot
dollars
of money.
that you want, everybody wants, but no one's really sharpen the pencil, right? You want to solve drainage, you want to solve broadband, you want to solve world peace, you want to solve economic development, something's got to give. What I'm offering you is an opportunity to change people's lives in a way that we never get to do, but let's do it equitably. And then I'm with you, Commissioner, if you want to see how this shakes out, and then you really want to pinpoint certain departments for an additional 2, what I'm suggesting is today that we articulate the floor, what the ground rules are, 10%. And then if we come back, so be it, but give us a chance to work with the auditor's office to see what that means. And I would, I'm happy for you even to initiate, because you've brought up some excellent departments.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. I'm fine with today. I mean, I agree. Let's set the ground floor. Let's let everyone know where we're at, what we appreciate and recognize that they went through. And then we come back and then we add on for those who really, like I said, went above and beyond, that were out there multiple hours, multiple days, every week for weeks on end. So as long as we do that, I have no problem bringing that back. I don't want to delay this issue anymore, but if we can
Okay,
at least
thank you.
put the word out that we're at 10, and then we'll come back for those specific departments. And hey, if somebody's watching and they feel their department or their particular employees need to be a part of it, then let us know. But, we've already listed 3 or 4, I think, departments, social services, public works, inland parks, medical examiner, and I'm sure there's a few others.
Emergency management.
Emergency, well, they definitely need to be up there, yeah.
So, okay, so I think, Kara, nothing really changes, except for that I'll restate it again, because we've kind of morphed it a couple of times. But my motion is to designate American Rescue Plan Act funds for the purposes of premium pay for Nueces County employees at a rate of 10%, but obviously, when I say Nueces County employees, we've already dealt with those under the collective bargaining agreement, including the cadet correctional officers, and we've already dealt with the district attorney's offices, so those would not be included, along with the 2 county attorneys that also were formed.
Health department is separate.
And health department is separate.
Okay.
So, and I can help you. We can go back, you and I, and look at the tape, but I think that
I got it. I'm
the
good.
gist of it is articulated.
I've been doing this a long
And
time.
that, this is important, Kara, and that we would start at January 1.
Start January 1.
Through the end of the fiscal year. And then we
Judge?
can work on it from there. Yes.
There may be an issue with timing. There's some language about the obligations not being incurred prior to March 3rd, 2021, in the definitions of premium pay. So that might require further research.
Okay, how about if we just say 9 months, and that way we can decide which 9 months work? Would that be?
9
How about
months.
subject to, in other words, I'll just say that, subject to the refinement of the time period. But the intention, Jenny, is January through September, and then maybe you can assist us if it has to be, August through whatever, through March or April. Right. And again, I want to make sure we go through all those wages and all of that particular. It's basically 48 through 51 of the interim final rules, pages 48 through 51. That's what I have on my notes. And by the way, this is very important. We do have to make a justification how this premium pay is responsive to performing essential work during the public health emergency. Okay? So again, we have work to do, but I think that the intention is there. I think I know how to make a case. So, but it's going to be important that you have patience with us, Julie, that as we go through, I've watched other counties do this, and they just make a declaration. I want to make sure that we have the proper paperwork, okay? So, do I hear a second?
Second. I think I already had a second.
You did, sir? All right, Commissioner Gonzalez had his second. And all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Pose same sign.
Judge, I'm just going to abstain because I truly want to support
Okay.
the raises. I just, on the record, want to state, I think there should have been more categorization before we went forward. So that's my reason. for that.
Understood. Thank you, sir. All right, the next thing is discuss and consider approval of release of ARPA funds for the Attorney 3-2 legal positions for the County Attorney's Office for the fiscal year 2021 and 2022 to the Auditor's Office.
Did I?
This is still going to be able to.
And so what we want to do here is get Jenny some folks, and in order to do that, we need to actually move forward, and that way you can get jobs posted. Is that correct?
Yes, Judge, and I have our CPS attorneys, I believe, are on Zoom in case the court has any questions for them regarding the caseload and how it's increased during COVID. I believe the court is absolutely aware that courts have been shut down and CPS cases are not stopping. And so while they are having their caseloads added onto, they are not able to dispose of cases. We have children staying in hotel rooms with CPS workers overnight. We have children sitting in the CPS offices all day in the desk next to workers. This is a bad situation.
Good. I'll make a motion to approve the release of these ARPA funds. I just need to move to my notebook
I
to
have a,
to
is
get
this
the
number
amount.
2, is the same thing as number 2 on number B? That number-
Is it the same as what, sir?
Number 2 on A is the same thing as number 2 on B? B and A, Human Resources, we got number 2. Is that the same one?
We're going to need
A job description.
job descriptions also. We tried to start the process, but we need an actual final additional okay on both the money being released and the job descriptions.
So are we doing this under 2A1?
Yeah, 2A2, Brent, 2A2, but we
2A2.
do, there is a ministerial piece of it, which
must
is
have
under
a-
human resources.
I must have an old agenda. I'm sorry. I don't have that on my agenda.
2A2?
Oh, wait. 2A2 to me is ABM. I guess I have the wrong
Oh,
agenda.
well, I've got
Three is
2A2.
I have 2A2.
Okay, I don't have the right agenda.
Okay, let me,
My bad, I'll find it.
alrighty.
what I was-
But let me just read it again. It's the approval of the ARPA funds, the release of it, so that she can get these postings and then know that the position is funded. That we've already approved it. We just need to get the
one more time
release.
Say something, Judge.
Yes,
On
sir.
this, right here, as we're doing that, is there any way we can add 2 more positions to that? To the ARPA funds?
Well, that's what this is.
No, but I add 2 more other positions.
So-
Since we're doing these positions.
You want to have, he wants to know whether 2 more would be needed.
We'll take it.
Not.
We'll take it right here, right now.
No, not for you, Jeannie, for somebody else.
Well,
Then it's not.
I don't know what you're talking about. I mean,
Well, I'm
did
just saying,
she?
can we add 2 more positions for another department here, on this one here, or do we have to
No.
wait for the human resources?
Yeah, I mean, this is for exactly what it says. It just says, I have a
Okay.
motion to release the funds for the county attorney's positions.
Okay.
Let's do that first.
Okay.
Okay, I have a motion to release those funds. We've already, approved these in budget.
Second, or
Motion and a second. And if, just so you got it in your in your background, it basically talks about how it's funded for 1 year. And honestly, I had it with me and then I've misplaced it, but there is a fiscal piece to this and it wasn't in here, but can you remind us how much that would be? Do you remember? Okay, in just a minute, if you don't mind, when we get to the human resources, tell me what it is. Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Jenny, I kind of remember, is it like 75?
It's not, For all three positions? I have the letter.
A piece, it was like 225 maybe?
It was a legal assistant 1, an attorney 2, and an
then a legal-
attorney 3.
I feel like it was
but
220, somewhere around there.
That sounds.
Okay. All right, so just to keep everybody just in keeping with what's going on. All right, hey, just to be, like, make it make sense, and Julie was here, but on the human resources, can I also get a motion to approve the job descriptions and the posting for this exact item?
No, Judge, I've got a completely different motion. I don't want to, that's what I wanted to discuss.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Okay, then I'll just get to it in a little bit, all right?
Okay, thank
Because
you.
she's not here. I'll call her right back.
She was asking about B,
For
B2.
the attorneys?
For B2.
oh, B2. I'm sorry, my bad. Yes, I would move for B2, yes. Sorry.
Okay, that's fine.
I thought you said 1, my bad.
No. Okay, so I'll take that as a motion to approve the job description and posting, and I'll second that motion. And any further discussion? Okay? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Post same sign. Okay, so Jenny, work with Julie, and let's see if we can get you some wonderful people.
Yes, Judge, and if the CPS attorneys, Nicole and Crystal, might have the opportunity to express their
You bet.
gratitude.
Hi, Crystal.
Hi, Judge.
They just put it through. We're gonna get the
Yeah.
new people to help you, and I thought you might want to thank the court.
Yes, we are very appreciative of having the opportunity to get a new CPS attorney and secretary. I came from the DA's office and I did not ever expect to be this busy. And as the year has gone by since I've been with the county attorney's office, the caseload has just increased and more every week. Every hearing that we have, it turns into an additional hearing. So an additional attorney to help take some of that pressure off of us would really allow us to, I believe we'd be doing the same amount of work, but we would definitely be able to put out better quality work. And I think as attorneys, that's something that is very important to us.
Really appreciate your comments. Thanks, Nicole, for being with us as well. And although I know the court appreciates your thanks, the truth is it feels awkward. We really ought to be thanking you. And this is, we hope, a remedy to a very serious situation. And we look forward to getting that posting out for you, maybe even today, if the job's ready, if the job description's ready.
Judge, I'd just like to thank whoever created these attachments. Nice bold letters, only funded for 1 year. I think that's so important, you know, as you look at how other governments practice, and they really indicate, you know, it's grant funded or limited funding. And so I think that's just a good reminder, and I appreciate that being a part of the attachments for the meeting.
I think that's appreciated. Thank you. Nicole, Crystal, again, thanks for joining us, and keep us posted. You know, let us know how this is making an impact. I'm certainly cognizant that it takes a while to bring on board somebody, but if you choose that right somebody, boy, it could make a big impact, and I think it'd be good to know how, you know, we're trying to create, I guess, an after-action report as to how we're using these funds. I want the public to know what we're doing and how it's making an impact in their community. Thank you.
Thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You bet.
Job for what you do.
Yes, yes, sir. Okay, so next, we have an item that is discussed, the ABM Energy Savings Performance Agreement, and including any amendments to scope of work, and this is also listed in an executive session. So we will ask our legal questions there, and then come back and take any action as necessary with regards to any amendments to any scope of work. Is there anything that,
Judge, is there something?
before you need
sorry.
to, yeah, go ahead. Is
On
there
that one-
anything you'd like to bring up at this time?
Are we expecting a legal advice on that one, or the legal questions? I don't.
Yes,
Oh, okay.
yes, I have.
You have legal okay, that's fine.
I
Just
do.
making sure.
I do.
Okay.
So I guess we'll move to discuss and consider a personal services contract with legislative consultants, Berlanga, Romo, and Shipton, including any renewal and/or amendments. And this was one that got left over from the other day. They did present in court their update, and we do have a contract ready to execute with them. And so I wanted to offer that it would seem to be the will of the court to think about the interim in a different way. And so my proposal is, for the consistency and the fact the next session starts September 20th, that we execute a personal services contract with Berlanga, Romo, and Shipton until the end of the year, December 30th, and then we could reevaluate at that time. And that in addition, that we, well, that's step one, and that's one of the things that I would like to visit with you all about here today as we try to execute this contract in advance of this legislative session beginning. And I'm certain there'll be another one after that. Is in order to get us to where we want to go and provide some consistency and some clarity. I mean, right now, this week, they're involved in multiple actions with the county in order to help us establish much-needed funding, restoration of grants, attempting to work a situation with the General Land Office for Bob Hall Pier and so many others. It seems to me that the best thing to do is to at least get us through the end of the year, and then when the interim begins, we can really rethink what the court's needs are and what the wishes are. But this way, they can keep doing what they've been doing all year long, which is representing us and our interests very well. And I'd like to make that motion in order to, I think it would be, see, if it's mid-September, it would be, I guess, September 20th to December 20th? Is that 90 days?
It's September 8th, actually. Their contract expired
Okay.
on September.
But we could start it on the 20th if we wanted to. I'm just throwing it out. I mean, just
Okay.
September 20th to December 20th, or it's December 30th, whatever. I mean, you know what? Let's just make it to the end of the, yeah. What if something cataclysmic happens on?
Yes, this is Tyner.
Oh, hey, Tyner.
Okay.
You're
Yes.
here.
It would go through to the end of the year.
Okay, thank you, Tyner. December 31st.
Okay.
I know it's like God
Yeah,
talking.
we can adjust the contract like that.
Okay, thank you. And I've got a second for that.
What was the motion?
It was just to have it to the end of the year and then just come back and see what the new year brings with interim charges and whatever the
With an
courts-
amount, or you're just offering that in concept?
I'm offering that up as a motion, and as far as an amount, there is a blank there right now. I know that there was, to me, there's no difference between the work they did yesterday and the work they did today, but I know there had been discussions amongst ourselves here in court as to, is there an opportunity to save dollars? And,
Well,
you
I guess
know-
I'm just trying to find out what your motion is, because the concept I might be okay with. I don't know what your motion is for dollars.
Okay.
If you're not making that motion for dollars right now, that's perfectly okay.
I could do the first part.
I'm just trying to make sure I'm
Does that
clear.
help?
Well, like I said,
That-
I'm
is that-
okay with the concept of
Okay.
something through the end of the year. I just don't know.
Right.
Where-
So
what
what
you're
I was going to
offering.
suggest, I mean, I would, again, philosophically, I believe their work is no different. So in many ways, I feel awkward about saying change the dollar amount. But in other ways, I believe in the spirit of compromise, in order to get us the relief that we need. I need to know that tomorrow morning, after an email that I got from the senator's office, that I can call him and start working on this, particular, go ahead. Yes.
And
to-
a second,
a
just for
second.
the dates.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
That's what I was
appreciate
clarifying.
that.
Yes.
Okay, so all those in favor of creating the contract between now and
And the date, the
December?
31st or the 8th?
It's today.
Through the December
to
31st.
December 31st.
So what happened to the 8th?
Well, I think I'm going to yield to Tyner. Tyner, would I make this motion for today?
That would probably be through.
So
Seems
what
like we just didn't
we
have a
had
contract.
proposed was $4,000, I believe,
It's not what the question is.
from now
I don't think we
until the
agreed
end of the
date.
year.
That's not what her
And
motion was.
then,
Yeah.
after that, $3,500
Yeah, I know.
a month. But, I mean, if we want to take it
Yeah,
through the end of the year,
yeah, I
we
think
can
that, I think
renegotiate.
it's just from today.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah,
that's
thanks,
good.
Tyner. Appreciate it.
Okay.
Yeah, so the only reason I say that, Court, is because why go backwards? Just accept that, today is the day we're here and the day that we would be executing a contract.
Well,
And so I would take it from today to December 31st.
So,
And I have a second.
okay, so for discussion, and I need to amend what I said, I don't believe anything goes on much in December. So what I should have said was, I'm okay with, and I apologize, I'm going to clear that up. I should have said I'm probably okay through November, because I think there will be a couple special sessions, and I think there's some value. So I don't support going through the end of December, because I think December is a very, very dead month. I just don't, I don't, right now I don't, so.
December the
so I
8th,
wanna-
that's why I said December the 8th. To me, it's a good day, but
Okay, so I would have to, excuse me, I'd have to amend that motion. Because the truth is that I don't think we know what the governor would do at all. And I don't think that it's strange to think in this year that they may
agree.
work past
Good.
December 8th. I just think that we need consistency. And I want you to know that whether it's, we've been talking to agencies on Christmas last year. So it's, I've called the GLO on July 4th. I've called I would like to do it through the end. It just makes sense to keep it to the end of the year. That way, if whatever, you may not have a legislative session the last week, but I promise you, everybody's working except for Christmas Day. So, that's just the way it works in government. We don't have that many days off at the state level, the federal level, or you have holidays off, major holidays, but everybody's still working in the agencies. If we're waiting on a grant, for instance, or it just makes more sense, I think, to do December 30th. But if you want to do like December 15th in the interest of, what day is it today? The 14th?
14th.
I could do to December 15th. That would make sense. And that's a split of the concept.
I'm comfortable through the end of November, whatever else everybody wants to do. But
Okay.
again, then we can get down to the numbers.
Well-
But again, to make sure, this does not have numbers in it. This is just.
Right,
for
it's,
the dates.
again,
Okay. 'Cause I'm
again,
not-
we're.
I'm comfortable to the 8th because that was when it's supposed to.
All right, so I'm going to do December 8th. So I'll amend the motion to the 8th, from the 8th to the 8th. Is there, and Commissioner, would you go ahead and, he'll second that amended.
With no-
Okay,
With no dollars, just the
right,
concept of the.
that's right.
Making sure.
That's right.
Just making sure, because Tyner came on and kind of.
I know, but Tyner didn't hear us.
Okay, I get it. I'm just.
attention.
No, I think he just didn't hear us correctly. Okay, so all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Okay.
Pose same sign. Okay, so now we've got, as they say, step one. And so in order to fulfill a contract, we need to fill in the blank. And so I would like to suggest that, as Tyner said, that in a spirit of cooperation and in compromise, that they are currently making $5,000 a month, but that we would lower it to $4,000 a month. And I do say that in compromise, because again, I find it a little, I don't know how to, something that's illogical is hard for me. And I don't know what's different about today than yesterday or tomorrow. It's all the same work, it's all the same people.
But it's not, Judge. So let me try to be logical, and I've really spent a lot of time thinking about this. I've talked to the lobbyist on this. I asked them for this list that they've sent to the court, and I've looked through a lot of these things, and I think part of this for me is there's some of these things. I don't think there's any way, shape, or form anyone will ever convince me that people work as hard in a session and out of a session. A lot of these things that they sent us are things that maybe they need work on, maybe we don't. We could spend an hour and a half going through all these things, because I don't agree that everything on here needs them to be worked on. Some of this is proactive stuff, which I think that will come later, but I don't think we are going to be working on our legislative agenda now. We need to work on that in the spring, because things are going to materialize later. So I think there's going to be a time that work could ramp up, but I don't think a lot of that's going to be done between now and the end of the year with what we've got. So I do think logically there's a very different distinction between, and I was very candid with Bill. They called, I asked them, I had this same conversation with them, and I didn't say anything to them, but I'm not saying now, I haven't said anything publicly. I'm trying to be very transparent about it. And I said it to him yesterday, I just don't believe there's near as much work in a session as there is out of a session. So I do think there's a distinct difference, and I think, but I also said we shouldn't ask the same amount of time if we're going to pay them less. And so I think it would be very important for us as a commissioners court to go through this list and sign off and say, okay, this is what we want you working on. This isn't what we want you working on. Maybe we want you working on all of it. I don't know, because I just got the list, I guess, yesterday and started looking through it. And some of the things I'm like, well, engaging with TAC and Conference of Urban Counties and other affiliated entities, and okay, that's fine, but I'm not sure that's not something that Belinda and Tyner or whoever takes that spot should be doing, or we should be doing. So I don't want to spend 2 hours on this list, but I want to at some point, and because we need to make a decision today, and I'm happy to do that dollar-wise, but I also want to be fair to them when I say I think we only ought to pay this, but let's talk about why and narrow down their scope or narrow down their time to where the court knows, they know as a court what we want them to really be spending their time on, because that's the only way that's fair to them. So
Yeah, except for that, that since you know a lot about the legislative process and
little bit.
participated in it, that it's what comes up unexpectedly.
But they're there.
But if you limit somebody's scope,
Time.
the purpose of having a legislative consultant to represent your interest is to actually represent your interest and to always be vigilant about all the subject matters. It's not just, you can certainly say, please focus on A, B, and C, but this court once before had a situation where you said to a lobbyist, hey, go focus on this one matter. And what happened was resulted in, quite frankly, catastrophic loss to this county with regards to some of the legislation that was passed in 2018.
Yeah.
And that happened on a court's watch because they did not have a robust legislative delegation, session.
There's some argument on that one if we're talking about the same thing, and I don't think we want
And
to.
I think we're on the same page on
Yeah,
that one.
that was
But
not
what
just-
I want
yeah.
to say is, I really do appreciate the time that you've put in it, and I want you to know that not only did I look at that list, but I created my own. I remember providing it to the court a couple months back. It shows you the length of, it's like anything. You've ever heard of more money, more problems? So we have grown as a community tenfold when you think about our problems. And maybe problems is the wrong word, challenges. That happens because you become the number one port. It happens because you've, seen a huge development in our coastal infrastructure needs, storms that have taken place in the last 4 years, grants that have come down to remediate those storms, and all of that COVID-19, money that's come to alleviate COVID-19. I would suggest that we're in a different season that we've never had before. And so I wanted to make the motion for $4,000 because it does reflect a huge cut for somebody that's, it's a huge cut. It's 20%. And so I would ask that we at least consider that, because we know that that's something that's amenable to them. It's in the spirit of compromise. We have a very limited timetable, and we can move on so that they can move on. We've got to figure out how to get back to fighting the good fight and helping our community go get these dollars. And every time we have these monster discussions, I feel like we're delaying that. And so I appreciate so much the welcome of, what is it, September 8th to December 8th? But I would like to see if we could get a motion for the 4,000 so that we could just get them on their way and start working and bringing in dollars for Nueces County and protecting our interests. So I do have a motion and a second. And I don't know that they're on, but, okay. And if you did have questions for them, we could get, yes,
Months, total 8,000.
12.
12, wait, oh, 12. but-
12.
Okay.
Yeah, it's for each of them. In other words, their current contract care is 5,000 a
Okay,
month
so they're what,
per
4,000?
individual.
Okay, so
And now
then-
it's 4,000.
But, okay.
That's the motion, okay?
Thank you, sorry.
Sure.
But total 24,000.
Yeah.
12,000 each,
12
24
12,000,
total
it's
for
just
three.
4,000 a month for each. Currently, they're making 5,000 a month. Okay.
But remember last time, so.
Yeah.
Oh, no, that's a good
So
point.
that's what I'm saying,
Yeah, I
total
agree.
24,000.
Yeah.
For the 2 months, okay.
Right.
That's all I wanted.
That's right.
Okay.
Okay. And then we can move on, from there. But I do have a motion and a second, and all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye?
Nay.
Nay.
Okay. All right. I'm not certain what charge you would like to put forth for them. But I would say if we are going to get a contract, we do have to come up with an amount. And,
Judge, my problem with this, and I told them this yesterday, when we started this, we had one lobbyist, and we decided as a court that we needed to make a bigger investment, and we were going to go to 2. And then we as a court couldn't come up with 2, and we decided on 3 as a compromise. And so, as I said to them yesterday, I say here too, I think we would be fine with having 2, but I don't want to eliminate anyone from the team, and that's the problem that I'm having is, I think if we had 1 or 2, the money that I want to put forward would be a lot more comfortable than it's going to be because we have 3, and I get it. It's not going to be what everybody loves, but I'm going to make a motion that until the end of the year, we pay them $2,500 a month, and then we revisit after that. So
yeah, and we
that's my
already know
motion.
that that's not acceptable
Okay,
to
well,
them.
that's-
And, they
that's
have
okay.
clients that this compromises their work, right? You can't say, I'll pay half of what,
But you
in the
can't.
spirit of working
You-
for Nueces County, I think they were interested in making certain that we could have a haircut. But to have 2,500 is not in keeping with their other, you know what I'm saying? I mean, you can't say to them, it damages their ability to go out and tell other clients, hey, they get 50% rate, but you don't. And that was their
And I get
rationale, and
I
it
mean, we
makes
could-
perfect
we-
sense.
And we could, and Judge, I basically said too, we could just,
I
not
just
do
think we're
anything
not
until-
going to have a legislative
And we could
team.
just say, right, we could just say for the end of the year, we're just not going to worry about it because I don't think there's that much going on during the special session that's going to include us. Reed Clay is a different contract that we're going to get to next. I think he could handle the ARPA money pretty much on his own. So we could certainly go that route for the end of the year, but the court has decided to do something. And so I was just trying to put forth what I could do. I would obviously with that pay, also welcome the limitation of their hours because people do take different rates of pay in the legislature based on the hours requested by the client. So if we requested less hours of them, then that would not be in my opinion, in any way, shape or form, a slap to them. If they think it is, that's not what I'm in to do. And I have to live with it because honestly.
I mean, I think we can,
Because here's the other side. Hang on one second. Here's
just
the other
make the
side.
motion.
Here's the other side. I voted against, so I'm going against what I voted for when I voted to not have lobby money, right? I got chastised for that from some, and that's okay. I got a lot of support from others on that. But because the law didn't change, I believe we have to have something, right? So even though I would.
I second the motion.
You mean the anti-lobbying bill?
Yeah, the
Know that
law's the
the
same.
anti-lobbying bill, we comply with every aspect of the anti-lobbying bill that was proposed on the Senate floor.
But it died,
We
so
don't-
it's
I know
irrelevant.
it died, but
So
it
that's why
wasn't
I'm-
for anti-lobbying. It was for the fact that it required transparency. I just want you to know and the public to know that the elements of the bill, Nueces County already complied with. We did not have a problem with what was amended on the floor because we already do it. And so that's very important to know. We already complied with the elements that
And I'm sorry,
were
I shouldn't have even
discussed.
brought that up. My point was, I was just trying to make the point is, I'm kind of going against myself by even supporting anything, because technically, I shouldn't even be voting for anything if I was going to, but I'm trying to be, as you said.
Right, so how
some
about, I'll
compromise,
just
and I'm
take
trying to
that
be
motion.
realistic.
I'll
So-
take the motion, Gonzalez seconded it. And
And that's only because I think we're going to have 2 or 3 sessions. I mean, I'm not even sure I'd be doing
Right.
this if I didn't
Well,
think we were
and
going to have
look,
2 or 3
a
sessions.
contract, remember, by definition, is what two people create mutuality with, right? They have to accept it. I don't think they're going to accept it, but again, you know, you can make the offer. You've made an offer with the motion. Gonzalez has seconded it. I think it's disappointing, but we're going to need to move forward. So let's do that right
And
now.
that
All
motion-
those in favor?
One second, that
Yes.
motion does include a reduction of their hours and a reduction of their time spent comparable to the amount of money we're paying them, so that that's clear in my motion. I want to make sure.
Okay, so let's make that motion as that there would be a 50% reduction in time and hours. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so again, we can only offer it. I will say that all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, I'm going to vote no because of the premises that these are people that were making a certain amount yesterday, and for this reason, I cannot vote for this contract. It's not in keeping with valuing their work, but, okay. And so we'll have 3-2. So we'll offer that, commissioners, through our county attorney, the 2,500.
Okay.
And we'll see what happens, and then we'll just have to probably have it brought back, you know, if it's not accepted. If it is accepted, then we'll let you know immediately.
So per month,
Per month, per
lump
individual.
sum. And I
Okay.
misspoke earlier, it was 36,000, not 24.
Thank you.
So I wanted.
No worries.
What did you misspoke? I didn't hear it.
She
So,
was doing a
2
total
months.
contract.
Yeah, I was doing
Oh,
2
for-
months and it's 3.
3
sorry,
months,
yeah.
right? Okay, so there it is there, and, okay, and then, the next one is item number 5, and it's the personal service agreement with Reed Clay, and,
I'll make a motion, we do the same thing with him we did with the other ones.
okay. A motion and a second, and I know for a fact, Reed will not accept that offer, so, yeah, I mean, it's the same motion. He wants to offer 2,500. Okay, so all those in,
Everybody different.
all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, no?
Nay.
No.
Okay, so that fails.
I would move for Reed Clay for 3,500 a month for those 3 months.
Okay.
I think
Okay,
with the ARPA funding and the things that he does, I think we have to cut, but I think there's going to be a lot more time spent by him. And again, cutting hours comparable to the cut, same thing.
Yeah.
That would be my motion.
okay, obviously, I mean, I've, the value that Reed has brought, I do want you to know that he lowered it to 5,000 when we needed the cut. I know for a fact also this will not work, but again, I mean, I'm happy to make that proposal and bring it back, but, I mean, again, you're asking people who, you know, if it doesn't work,
Motion,
but
we haven't heard,
Yeah,
we haven't voted on the motion yet?
it's a motion, we need a second
for 3,500.
for 3,500,
Per month.
yeah.
For the 3 months.
Otherwise, he doesn't get renewed, so.
I know. I mean, nobody wants to compromise their values in what they're doing for other clients. You know, I mean, to be honest with you, in the law business, and I know you're a good lawyer, you know, if you solve a problem and you charge a client a certain amount, whether it took you 2 minutes, 2 hours, or 2 years, it's still the same amount, you know, that you've charged them. And I really, I just don't understand what we're trying to do here. Maybe what you could do is, would you mind negotiating with them? You can negotiate with Romo, Shipton, Berlanga, and Clay, because I want to pay people what they've been being paid and what they've, you know, Reed's brought so much value to the table, as is the other team. It's just
Judge,
so
and I don't disagree.
much.
I would even make.
Do you like to
mine
call him?
For 4,000, no, for 4,000 for Clay, because I think he's, right now has a different, because of that ARPA funding, I think that's his strength. So I would amend that motion, because
Okay.
and nobody's seconded it anyway, so that could still die. But,
Okay.
I mean, that's up to you.
All right, well, I'll second and see what he says. And would ask for all those in
And
favor.
this is through the end of this is through the December 8th also, because I don't think we did that one to start with. So this would
Okay.
be through the same thing, December 8th.
All right, and all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye?
And again, commensurate with less work.
Yeah.
Aye, sorry. So,
Okay.
Again, I want
Thank
this
you.
to be clearly articulated to them that, okay, we expect less time for less money.
Okay, thank you for that.
ma'am.
And so that does,
2 nays and 3
that's correct. Okay, so we got that one taken care of. And so we'll move on to human resources, and this is, and Julie is here with us right now, and this is to discuss and consider the Commissioner's Court Manager job description. And I apologize, but I'm getting an emergency call, so forgive me. I'm going to step out. And John, will you take over? And Julie, you're going to need to answer some questions. I'll be right back.
Do you want to jump?
You want to?
Just to start off with, this was a new position, brand new position created on June 13th of 2019. So it's a fairly new position, and Tyner was the first and only person in this position when it was created. Do y'all have any questions on it? I mean,
Yeah,
I don't know what you.
Let me,
know about.
if you don't mind, Commissioner Pro Tem, Mayor, Judge, whatever you, yeah, John. So the reason that I wanted to discuss this was, in looking around and seeing what other counties have been doing, and not that we have to follow every other county, but it was brought to my attention that some of the larger counties have started establishing a county administrator. And the county administrator, and so when Tyner unfortunately told us he was going to leave, it just kind of prompted me, because I didn't really want to go do it now and add another position. But then when Tyner said he's retiring, I called him and said, "I'm sorry you're retiring. You sure you want to do that?" And he said, "Yes." I said, "Okay." So it kind of got the wheels, rolling on that. And so what I would like to kind of talk about doing is really revising this whole position to where it is a county administrator, where all the department heads, and I'm not talking about elected officials, even though they are electeds and considered department heads, the appointed department heads would report to this county administrator to help make the county run even more efficiently. We've added department heads, we've got more. It's very difficult, in my opinion, for this court to oversee all the department heads efficiently with every other thing that we've got going in this county. And so I wanted to bring forth for the court's consideration a county administrator that would, and I don't have like a whole job description, I've just got a basic concept, and the concept is that the department heads would report to the county administrator, and then the county administrator would report and be hired by the court. Department heads would continue to be hired by the court, but would report to the county administrator. And that's about as far as I've gotten with the general process that I wanted to talk about with the court on this.
And one of the things that I kind of put in there, it said that 30% of his job description would be government affairs. I know that Belinda already has government affairs in her job description, but they could rotate, during the session, and work with maybe 2 lobbyists instead of 4 lobbyists, so we used to, before Tyner was our government affairs, as you remember, when Steve was here. And, he's been half of the time in Austin and lobbying with the lobbyists when we only have 1 or 2 lobbyists, so, and he come back and give us a report. So I don't know, I think that we really need to implement something here that we can utilize more. And as far as meeting with department heads, I like that idea. You can come and give us a report instead of everybody coming in. You can give us a report, kind of an update of what's going on. So those are the things that I kind of look at to try to maybe implement a little different role, so.
And Judge, I'm sure you were out when I.
So sorry.
No, and I should have just waited, because I should have waited till you got back. So what I had said was, the reason I put this on for further discussion is I I've seen where a lot of some other counties have shifted to a county administrator role, and with Tyner's departure.
Like a county manager.
Right, and with Tyner's departure, it made it sense to have the discussion to do that, where the department heads reported up to the county manager. We still hired the department heads, and we could, and then, I have a general concept, I don't have it in a job description.
Sounds
But I
good.
thought this was the time with Tyner leaving, to have that discussion, because I think it would help run the
it's
county
good.
much more efficiently and effectively if we had someone that could really help do that for us, because we've gotten so big and we've got so many projects going on.
I think it's a great idea, and just, we'd actually mentioned it maybe a year ago, where we talked about a budget office and a county manager and how it's actually, how other urban counties do it. So what were you suggesting is, Julie, create some language and to bring it back to us quickly?
Right, and Commissioner Gonzalez had suggested adding some legislative, potentially a
Government affairs
legislative.
also, so
Maybe.
Tim and Belinda can rotate going maybe to doing legislative sessions?
Maybe just have that as
Yeah, I think that
a role.
a court manager is going to have knowledge of governmental affairs, but you need your governmental affairs officer to be your governmental affairs officer. In other words, now you're really saying you're going to do both, but just so you know, a court manager would act in, like, for
Well, he'd be
example,
more like a
Tyner now
liaison, right?
already goes to some of the meetings.
Right, and-
Right?
More like a liaison.
So,
Yeah,
I mean,
and
I think
Belinda
that's,
report-
I think
Belinda
that's
or
fine.
whoever- right, they
You don't
would-
want to water down your governmental officer, but I think it's normal to have a county manager attend a lot of governmental
It
meetings.
just has maybe some experience, but the governmental affairs person is going to report to the county manager
Absolutely.
anyway, so.
Sure, it works out.
Right. But
I mean, like
So
I
that
said,
was really-
Tyner right now sits for me in so many different meetings, and Belinda does too. I think you said the most important operative sentence, which is that this county is just grown so much into so many different arenas that you've got to be able to cover, all of it. So if you want to look at Hidalgo counties, the way they do it, that's a good template. Fort Bend.
Yeah, and then the person would just report to the court. We would, just like we do department heads, we'd hire it. The department heads would report up to the court administrator or county manager, whatever we want to call that person. And I just
That's
think
good.
that is so that was all I wanted to do today.
Okay.
And if that's something that
That's good.
the court feels
Can
comfortable
we
with.
vote as a motion to direct Julie to please make that? Let me tell you what I'm a little worried about, if it's all right, is that time is not our friend. We are, I came very close yesterday in the middle of the hurricane. Well, maybe it wasn't yesterday, it was the day before yesterday, and I was going to say, hey, Tyner, don't you just really want to stay 2 more weeks?
Well, that's what I've already asked him for a
Don't you
month.
just really want to stay?
Judge, I asked him for a month.
I
Judge.
said,
Come
I
on,
want
don't short
2.
me.
I
Don't
just
short
want
me.
2.
I already did it online. It's a done deal. It's a done deal.
We can undo that deal.
Right,
We
but-
can just figure
I
out,
can't change it.
we can lose it. We
I
can
did
lose
it
it. Tyner.
online.
But one of the things that I was thinking is, time is so important. So I want you to know, I kind of always have a little bit unfair advantage that I know, kind of glimpsing what's happening before the agendas come down. I know Maria's going to need something very quickly. It's really important for a grant. And so she has asked me about a special meeting the first week of October. And I have suggested that, we're going to work with your calendars. Anyway, I just want to say that if we do this, look, this office cannot, everyone can pitch in and help, but you do not want to have this position open for too long.
Agreed.
On the other hand,
We gotta find
sound like Tevya. On the other hand, who knows what I meant by that? Nobody?
What did you say?
Tevya. On the other hand, okay, never mind. Fiddler on the Roof, okay?
That's
Tevya. Anyway, he always,
Fell asleep doing that part.
Okay.
anyway, so the
if I
bottom
may
line is,
Make a few comments.
I
yeah,
fell asleep.
I'm gonna take these things out of my ears because there's a terrible delay. And, what I want to say, if you would please, the job evolved from, a lot of nothing. I was in the county attorney's office and worked for Judge Barnes. And, he had no staff. in Borchard's term, probably one of the bigger things he did was started the grants office. And we started getting grant money in, which was unprecedented. And, Richard was from Robstown. He hired Elias Vasquez as grants administrator. And, we started to get huge grant money out in that direction. What happened was, just for history purposes, Borchard wanted to know where the money was. And I can tell you this because the statute of limitations has run out on everything, I think. And,
You're being recorded.
okay, I'm sorry. So,
That was funny.
Have you been drinking again, Tyner? What's going on over there, buddy? Don't get emotional on us. Come on now.
so Borchard hired, the first assistant county auditor, which was Steve Waterman. And, that way Borchard could find out where, all the accounts and all the money and, everything. And it was all good intention and everything. Then there was tobacco money, huge tobacco settlements, and how that worked out. I was actually in the county attorney's office when we filed suit, against Philip Morris and the tobacco companies. I was actually on the tail end of when Carlos Valdez filed a suit against the state of Texas for not moving prisoners and leaving them in our county jail. And it evolved into some rules that told the state that they have to get their prisoners out quickly. That evolved into, I should have saved this for September 22nd, I'm sorry. But it evolved into something where, I started doing resolutions for the court and for the judge. And then I became a chief in the county attorney's office, and Borchard hired me in 2000. So I started doing commissioners court agendas in 2000. And so I've done commissioners court agendas for 21 years. And it's over 10,000 plus agenda items that I've been involved in. And it's been an amazing experience. I won't change anything. Let me tell you this, though. My heart has always been in to protect the court and the interest of the public. And there's not a person on the street that will ever complain to me about not having access to me. So anyway, I've always been accessible to the public. I hope you'll hire somebody to replace me with those sentiments. It's important to me. I'm always there for the public.
Tyner.
Thank you, Tyner.
Tyner, this is, it's amazing how they say, time flies. When you gave us notice, it seemed like we had time. And now we seem like we're in a race against time. You're not a replaceable person. your not institutional knowledge and understanding of court history and the legalities of what we're doing because of your background as a lawyer, as well as just your overall general kind and compassionate demeanor, along with understanding when no means no at the same time, has made you just a perfect candidate. I think that the evolution that you talked about continues, and that's what Commissioner Chesney was saying, is that there is an evolution, and I think that you've set the tone for that evolution. And I agree with you. This has to be a thoughtful process, which is what I wanted to say to Julie, is we do need to post as quickly as possible. If we could bring back the final verbiage quickly, it would really be helpful, because we want to post it and allow for adequate time to do a real search of the state of Texas, because somebody who's involved in county government, or somebody who's a chief of staff for a legislator, or, there's going to be a perfect person out there. But Tyner, at least from my aspect, we will look for somebody who serves, right? That's what I think I'm hearing you say, is that look for somebody who has a servant's heart. And we will definitely do that. And it's not your retirement day yet. You got a lot more work to do in the next 2 weeks. But I love that you set the tone for who we're looking for and what we're looking for, because you are a little bit of a jack of all trades in court administration. And so, again, I think that we're echoing that, aren't we, here? That's what we're looking for, isn't that right?
One Tyner.
No, but isn't that right, what
No,
we're
I mean,
looking
if,
for
you know,
as
if
far
you
as
get
the?
like a,
That's what we're looking for,
you know, a
just like
city
Tyner.
manager type of person,
Right,
um,
and there's a lot
you know, a
of,
financier.
yeah,
I mean, all this evolved over time.
right,
I mean, there was nobody that worked for Judge Barnes.
right,
His wife delivered memos throughout the courthouse,
To the phone.
on his
right.
behalf.
No, things have,
And he
things
had
have
no
really
staff.
changed. And like I said, and we're growing up. So I think, Julie, from what I'm hearing, is that we could, have you heard enough? And I'm just going to ask commissioners to send to you any verbiage that you want Julie to consider. She'll try to put it together, get it back to us super quick. And then there is, like I said, we have another court on the 22nd. Maybe on the 22nd, we can approve it, and that same day, get it posted. And then that way, maybe in 3 weeks, we can be, interviewing. And again.
I agree, Judge.
and Is that, I mean,
Yeah,
that's got to be our goal. And then just so you know, if there's not anybody of the caliber that we need, we're better holding the fort down here, okay, than getting somebody that's not up to speed or snuff here. This is the most important job. And I'm going to tell you, when I found my interim, we went through a process, a company who specializes in, folks that have high-level, qualifications. I'm going to encourage Julie to send it out, to them and to other people organizations and entities. I know she has certain postings.
It
but
posts nationally.
Posts
as government
nationally.
Jobs.
Right. You want somebody who knows how to manage 2,000 people, okay?
Well,
And-
actually, you want
and-
them to manage about 15 department heads who can manage, right? I
Well,
mean,
that's right. I
right,
mean, forgive
yeah.
me, but it's always, you're right. The people that we manage,
Are we going to require a law degree for the
So,
governmental affairs
I don't
part
think
of
it's
it, or-
I don't think it's a requirement, but I think you should put JD preferred, MBA preferred, managerial experience preferred. That way
Yeah,
you
but like
attract
a-
the right
But
people.
like a master's in public administration.
All of that preferred. That way it all gets a little count.
MBA, MPA, and JD.
It does say
JD.
master's or graduate degree.
Right, so put
preferred
MBA,
also.
MPA, JD.
Yeah, because,
know.
with this one, I do believe we need to up it. That doesn't mean anything against
Right.
Tyner. I mean, we need to add some things here, because we've got to have someone who's involved, who knows a little bit about planning, who knows a little bit about engineering. And that's not an easy position to fill
Yeah.
or do. So I think we do, or some really good comparable work experience, whatever that means in those fields,
Right.
because.
You just use the words preferred and then,
Right.
experience, but I think you want to have somebody that's, and this is the highest paid salary in the county other than our doctors. And, other than our judges. all right, our district court judges and our county court at larges, but it's a
But
very
those are
high-paid
statutory,
salary.
Right, yeah, those are all statutory too, so.
Right,
the
that's true.
judges,
I guess
right.
that's, the point is that
You
it's
also
a,
check page 3 and 2. I think there's a lot of repetitive on page 3 and 2.
I think you gotta
always
start
cut
over.
it short.
Yeah, I think you gotta start over on this one,
Yeah,
right?
you
And
cut
then
it short, but I'm
well,
saying.
just do your best to, I mean, remember, if it says the same thing, it doesn't hurt you. It's what it doesn't say that could it's the omission, not the duplicitous nature of it. I mean, if it says it in a different way, it's because it could be interpreted, it covers the bases. But get it to us as quickly as you can, having heard some of the comments, and then we'll be back on the 22nd.
And Judge, I think we need to make that in the form of a motion, which.
Go ahead.
I would like to move that we instruct the HR department to create a job description for a court manager / administrator with the comments made as far as some of the requirements, and to get that back to us just as soon as we can.
In advance, if possible, the 22nd, so we can review it.
Absolutely. And if you get it back to us in advance of or even just really, well, we're going to have to give you comments, right? So the faster we get it, the faster we can give you comments back, so
Right.
that we know on the 22nd if we're going to be able to approve the job description.
There's a really good article, I'll email it to you, Julie. I was researching, and over the summer, Harris County was going through the process of selecting commissioner, court administrator, whatever title they used. And you would think, as big as Harris County was, they would already have one, but they actually were just creating it this summer. So they may have some resources still online that
Great idea.
that go into that job description. So.
Or we actually have the chief of staff for Judge Hidalgo's office. Maybe I'll give you his number and you can just call him
The only
and
thing
say,
about-
hey, how did what was that job description like? I mean, obviously it's different, but the point is that there could be people that were interested.
The only thing with Harris County is it's so big that they
It
have
is.
like different layers.
They do.
So
They
Cameron
do.
or Hidalgo, if they do it, would probably
I
be more
agree.
appropriate for
I
us,
agree.
or
That's true.
any other county that's our size. Yeah.
Imson.
Yeah,
does-
because I read
does-
that article too, and they went into all these different I mean, they went
Yeah,
way
they
deeper
have
than
a
we're going.
huge-
Yeah.
That's
I'm
true.
just saying the language, there may be some language
Yeah.
you may just take. from
Anyway, do
different-
your best, Julie, but we are in a time crunch because, again, we can hold court, but we really do need, somebody, in that position. And I will say I have the utmost, confidence that court administration with Teresa and Tara and also with Belinda will do their best job in the gap. There will be a gap. And if you need, some assistance there, I mean, let us know. I mean, we're very aggressive on our agendas, and maybe some presentations can wait, or, we'll work with you. We don't have to, we're gonna have 30 days of gap, no matter how we cut it, and we need to be careful that we don't overload court administration. So that which can wait, let's let it wait, right? That which cannot, bring it forward and we'll make it work. Okay, thank you.
We need to
Thank
vote.
you. I need to vote, yes. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye,
Aye.
opposed, same sign. Okay, that takes us through, Julie, when you weren't in the room, we took care of number 2, just as a matter of situational awareness.
They're already
Please-
being posted.
Thank you, thank you. I'm sure Jenny appreciates that. At this time, I'm giving notice that Commissioners Court may elect to go into executive session anytime, which we do right now. And it's authorized by the Open Meetings Act, Chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code. To the extent that we need to deliberate, we do so in accordance with Vernon's Texas Code, Sections 551, 071, 72, 73, 74, 745, 76, 86, 67. We're going to hold executive session to consult with our attorneys relating to real property, gifts, personnel matters, county advisory boards, security devices, economic development negotiations, and other matters that may be discussed in executive session. Upon completion of the executive session, the Commissioners Court may be in open session, take such action as appropriate on items discussed in executive session. And so I'll gavel us out, and the time for the clerk is 4:38 p.m. And I'm going to ask those who are not necessarily needed for items A, B, C, D, E, or E to please clear the courtroom, take our mics down, and I do want you to know that,
Oh, Judge,
yes,
I'm
we'll be, you want, what do you say?
I apologize. I can do it after we come back. I forgot I
Okay.
wanted to go back to another, one of our former agenda items. I wanted to clarify something, so.
Well,
I can-
when we get back.
Yeah, I'll do it later.
Okay, and so we'll come off the record, and then we will be back.
And Judge.
And Marvin, I'm going to call you in just a second. And by the way, once we clear the courtroom, back from executive session, and we do have some matters to take up. Most notably, is there a motion on item B regarding the case Sonia Resendez's next friend versus Nueces County?
Yes, Judge, I make a motion to go into settlement with Sonia Resendez for the amount of $30,000.
And also, do you make the motion to ratify the filing of the suit?
Motion to ratify the filing.
Thank you, and I'll second that motion.
And authorize the county judge to execute.
Yes, one more time, yeah.
And authorize the county judge to execute settlement documents.
Thank you. And I'll second that amended motion, and all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay, and looks like there is also a matter on item D and item E, and I'll make the motion on item E, and that is to authorize the county attorney and the county judge to attend the upcoming Harbor Del Sol Marina Association meeting, which we believe to be tomorrow evening at 6 p.m., and to consider and to authorize them to take any action in the best interest of Nueces County as trustee for,
Second?
I'm sorry, the county judge and the.
county attorney.
Okay.
Or her designee. And I've got a motion and a second, and all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay, and then Commissioner Chesney, item D.
Thank you, Judge. I have a motion to allow the county attorney to engage ABM to remove completely the amphitheater from the current contract and/or to substitute a price-comparable energy savings project ancillary to a current project under the ABM contract. Further, to not incur any more cost on this project until this matter is resolved. And again, I want to stress on this, the energy savings part. ABM has been kind enough to indicate that they're willing to work with the majority of the court on this, and that they have provided me two potential energy savings retrofit substitutions, which I think is what this contract should be all about anyway, is energy savings. And therefore, that's the motion that I have on the floor, and I appreciate ABM's willingness to work on this.
Second.
I'll call for discussion, and is there any discussion? Commissioner Hernandez, do you have any more discussion?
No, I don't, Judge.
Commissioner Modis?
And I just had a little more, but I'll wait for you, Judge, if you wanted to.
No, go ahead.
The reason I'm making this motion, just to give further clarity, is I also believe this isn't just about the initial cost of the amphitheater. I don't believe that this is a project that will do anything but potentially lose additional revenues in the fairgrounds. I've talked to people who run amphitheaters. It's a very difficult way to make money. It's a very limited revenue producing thing, and I think it is just going to potentially put additional financial drain. Not only could we use the money for a want project instead of a need project, not only could we put actual energy savings projects in an energy savings contract. We have so many different needs in this county for buildings we currently have. I don't believe it's appropriate to spend close to $2 million on a project that is a brand-new building that we don't need, that I believe will continue to lose us money. This is not an energy-saving project. And everybody's acknowledged that it's not an energy savings contract. But the ones that ABM have provided, which are design, build, HVAC equipment, retrofit fairgrounds, and design, build, HVAC equipment, retrofit courthouse, jail, those are energy-saving projects. It would continue, if we spent the money, if the court chose on the fairgrounds, it would continue to spend the money in the same area of town or of the county that we're spending it in currently, so there would be no takeaway from that part of the county. So everyone understood that they will still be getting the same amount of revenue spent out there. If they decide, if you want to do it on the courthouse jail, that's certainly up to the court too. But again, I think this should be more centered on energy savings and more centered on projects that we need desperately to repair and not create new buildings that are just not a need, they're a want. And I don't think we have the resources right now to be focusing on the wants when, without a doubt, the needs in this community, in this county are significant. And I think we need to stick with the needs as much as we can and stay away from the wants. And I think this is a very viable solution to this, to move forward and get a real positive out of this, spend the same amount of money and do what we need to do on places that will actually provide us energy savings, which will then actually provide us the opportunity to have more of an offset to this large amount of money that we're currently paying. So that's the reason that I brought that forth, and I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
Commissioner, I feel
Yeah,
like you were
sure.
moving your mic.
No, I do appreciate Commissioner Chesney's, offering to want to commit that dollar amount that would be spent there for this project to try to remain in that part of the county. I think that keeps him with the spirit of it. I think it would be a great project. I don't think it's anything big that was once proposed 15 years ago. It's on a very small scale. I think that, based on how it was presented, it'd be very, it would not be costly maintenance-wise because it's just outdoor. It's going to be basically a concrete pit with some amenities, but it's just going to be kind of a tiered, setup that they would have there in one little corner of the acres and open acres that they have there at the fairgrounds. I definitely appreciate and recognize the importance of not being wasteful or being as resourceful as we can with funding. We all know, we've all been out there to the fairgrounds on days when it's totally every inch of that facility, from the equestrian center to both ballrooms and the arenas, are all filled up. And then with our COVID response, the parking lots as well. So I think that there is opportunity there for more venue, more opportunities for people to select if they want an event that's maybe smaller scale than maybe what the arena or even the ballroom can offer, based on whatever price, scaling that could be set up. So I would just caution and urge not to jump into abandoning this project. If there is an opportunity to talk to ABM and allow them to speak with the county attorney on this, and if there's a way for them to work something out, then that's great. I worry because we are already moving forward on this project and have already committed to it, that it may be too far gone. But that's how I feel. If the attorneys and their attorneys say differently, then that's fine. But I think it's such a small scale item that it's not that big. When you talk about the overall venue that was compared to or talked about in public comments earlier, was 30,000 seat arena. This is below 1,000, well below 1,000, maybe around the 500 mark as far as people that could be packed into to that venue. So that would be my concern with this. I think that it would be something that would be well used, not only from the western or northern west part of the county, but really from people from all over, like we've seen in other venues there. Out in Robstown, the library is one of them where people from all over the county utilize it, no matter what precinct or part of the area you're from, that people and kids especially go and use it. And we see that a lot happen with the fairgrounds, with the gun show and the country peddler show and all kinds of different musical acts and quinceañeras and weddings and all different events that are there. So I think that this offers just another opportunity to market and to sell to the community, to come, and it helps economic development. If you look at our partners at the City Council a few years ago, American Bank Center was expanded, and it was expanded because it was just the need. It wasn't expanded, and I didn't remember hearing any argument that there was any competition or trying to take away or hurting from any private entities. It was to say they need to expand on what they have because of the use. And I think that that's what this is about. It's about the use, and I think that there is enough use to justify it. And as we hopefully get better one day with COVID, we'll then continually see this used on a weekly basis, if not more often. So, I will, listen and wait for the court's will on this, but, I would like to see this, continue. But if ABM is willing to work with us and meet with the county attorney on this, then I'm willing to listen. If y'all feel that this is maybe spending too much money, I think we do need to be careful, precedent that anything that says that we commit to a project and we then say, no, we got to get out of it. Hey, if the contract allows, then that's fine, but I just think that sets a bad precedent. So once again, I do appreciate the Commissioner offering to look at if this project does not move forward, or if we can have a cost savings and realize that we would be able to have that money put back into the area to help build up the facilities more. Thank you.
Okay, I'm just going to make a few comments because I think you said that so well, and I think that sometimes when you just hit the mark, you should just say you hit the mark. And I think you did, Commissioner. I don't see anything wrong with, making certain that the concerns that the court put forward, are brought forth to the company ABM. What I do see as a real misleading comment is that, that there is not value here, and that somehow that one part of the county doesn't deserve the amenities that would be pro-family, pro-economic development, and pro-county service. I think that we were very thoughtful when we said we needed to put $30 million into energy savings. It wasn't 23, it was 23 plus almost 9. And we made up those 9 with our COs. And when we did 30 million, we said most of those dollars, save and except 1.9 million of it, is going to be in stuff, quite frankly, that you can't really see. We know it's really important because boilers and air handlers and roofs and even paving are all super valuable to an asset. But we're really not going to see that. So just like the statutes contemplate opportunities, we took the statute up on its offer to allow for some ancillary opportunities. And I support Commissioner Modis because I work with the 4-H program out there and love what I see. But I see that there's not enough free open air space for kids. And I'll be honest with you, I was thinking to myself, wonder why I missed that 2006, 2007 time period when there was that big fight that went on about Heritage Phase Center 1. And I said, oh, I remember. That was my year, my annus horribilis. It was the year that Jackie got diagnosed with cancer. So I wasn't living here. I was living in California that year. But I can tell you that this is not in any way, shape, or form what was concerning back then. It is completely just a different animal altogether. This would cost a $1.9 million, which represents to the $1.5 million payment that's due, $145,000. And of that $145,000, on the most conservative opportunities, not saying you'd make $1 revenue, saying you never rent it, which is pretty unforeseeable, but even if you never rented it, your branding opportunities, and I spoke with Spectra Management, who is a national leader in venue and entertainment, and they just merged with another national leader of venue and entertainment, and they thought that it would be valuable. And they thought that on a most conservative, it would bring in at least $75,000 worth of branding opportunities without $1 of revenue. And because it is a concrete space open with solar lighting, it has very, very minimal operations. It was very much brought to this court a year and a half ago in the spirit of family and the spirit of community. And what is a little hurtful is that I have been, because I wanted to be, the county judge that said from coast to county, I want to see all of us be lifted up. And I have supported wholeheartedly over $25 million in projects just for the coast in the last 24 months. And what is really disheartening is that I can, if I wanted to, could certainly make arguments that some of that may never get paid back, that some of that costs us taxpayers at least $1.5 million a year, just to that 20 million on our COs at our current interest rate. We could make those arguments, but I choose to be a county that unites us instead of constantly divides us. And I think that when you say to our rural community, you are not valued enough to make this type of a commitment in a post-COVID world, which, by the way, there are, again, we were very deliberate on green infrastructure being a part of our focus, that it really sends a really bad message, because it says, despite the fact this court voted 4-0, and despite the fact that it was recommended by our Public Works Department, and despite the fact that it would cost tremendous legal implications, and despite the fact that even to undo a contract and redo an energy savings would also cost us county dollars, we're still willing to do this. I don't know if there is a way to really overcome what that really means. I believe that we ought to keep our word. And let me just say, when it comes to energy savings, this is the court that didn't even know what it had in capital needs until 2019. So it's kind of a little disingenuous to say that you're going to go out there and replace it with energy savings, with new HVAC. Because let me just say this, the only HVAC that needs to be replaced after the ones that we're just about to do, which is about $200,000 worth of HVAC with ProTech, the only ones that are left is the one for Exhibit Hall B. That's because I'm out there literally every week, and I've studied that capital improvement plan, and it's $3.5 million. So it's not 1.9. But I will say to you that you don't get energy savings when you're not replacing. You only get energy savings when you're replacing unit. There's no savings, there's cost added when you put in new HVAC, which I suggest that we need. So don't think that by putting new HVAC at the fairgrounds, you will get an energy savings unit, right? You'll get a modern unit that produces really great energy savings over time. But you're not recouping energy savings because it didn't exist before. So I want you to know that it's really important to find the right energy savings project. And at the fairgrounds, the projects that we need won't bring in necessarily dollars, except for there's some seals that need to be done around the windows that have been discovered recently. And some potential, some seals, I guess is the best way to describe it. And we could definitely make that, adjustment, but I think it's a couple of $100,000. But the HVACs that you were identified for you, Commissioner Chesney, those are already in the works with the PO, and those were already done, unfortunately, before this. And the only one that's left is Exhibit Hall B, which is a huge square footage. And so I just want you to know I'm interested in hearing what they say. I'm interested in finding out what other energy savings are there at the fairgrounds, other than the ones that I've said, Exhibit Hall B. And the small HVACs, like I said, are already, you remember that this court put in $200,000 for immediate needs in CO 2021. Well, we made a decision to use those $200,000 for small HVAC units. I think one was in the kitchen, Teresa, and I cannot remember where the other one is. I think it's like, I'm not sure where the other one is, but 2 big units. And then the other one we had already attended to. There was 3 units that were out, and we attended to those. We've attended to those. So again, I concur with Commissioner Modis. I think we should think long and hard about singling out a project when a year and a half ago we made a commitment to that project. I ask you to think about what else becomes on the chopping block. As you said, the perfect example are our libraries. Our libraries cost us money. They don't make us money. But they serve a greater good and a greater community. They even serve the coast. Many of our parks cost us money, a lot of money, because they're really expensive to maintain. The Fallen Heroes Memorial and so many other beautiful things about our courthouse cost us money, but they serve a greater good, providing not only green infrastructure, but a place to gather and celebrate and create a real opportunity for community. So I'm disappointed that this came up during budget when it never has been brought up before. It was very open and transparent. Over 8 different Commissioner Court meetings in 2019 and 2020 addressed these projects. And now we wish to say, you are the one that we think we need to save dollars for $70,000 a year. I promise you, all of our projects that we have advocated for sometimes cost dollars. But the gain that you have in improving your amenities, again, in a post-COVID world, for free, because a lot of the things about open-air amphitheater, while you can rent it for special occasions, could also be available to certain groups for free if they didn't need concession or, some sort of other arrangements. I have asked Mayor Gomez to place it on his agenda in Robstown on Monday so that Robstown can also weigh in on this. I've asked the RIDC and the RADC to also weigh in on this. I'll be asking the mayors of Agua Dulce, Banquete, Bishop, Petronila, and Driscoll to also weigh in, as they are only in a 10 to 12 mile radius. And finally, I'm going to talk to developers in the community, people that work here in Corpus Christi, like the Brazeltons, who contacted me and said they were interested in home development in the northwest part of our community. And you know why? Because that's what's growing. That's what's growing. And that's the area that we need to tend to. And when we have and see growth, what people value is a quality of place. And that's what this was. It was an opportunity to bring a quality of place. And instead, it's brought us a quality of divisiveness. And I'd like to see us heal from that by asking the right questions, allowing us to vet it carefully. But it appears that, as they say, we're back to where we were 20 years ago when we had these kinds of divisive, discussions. I believe that if we've learned anything, it's that there is a gap in the social determinants of life in the rural community. IRT showed us that. There's a gap in the digital divide, and there's also a gap in the amenities. And when you spend almost $25 million in one area, and if I put the RV parks in, it's $30 million in the last 3 years. $30 million. That seems a very lopsided giving to one part of the community
So Judge,
while ignoring
you're counting the
another.
18 million for the pier that got destroyed and saying we shouldn't have rebuilt that? Because that's what you're including in that 30 million, I'm
No, I'm
supposing.
saying that I fought for that investment. That investment is one I'm proud of. And I believe that there should be some equity in our county for
And
the
if the
rural
storm knocks
community.
down Borchard Fairgrounds, I will be there to support whatever we need to do there. But to include something devastated by a hurricane as part of your calculations to show some disparity
Commissioner-
between the areas in the county, that's divisive if I've ever heard.
Commissioner,
That's just, you keep
I'm
using
not
divisive.
interested in
You're adding
arguing
to that
with, I'm not interested
divisiveness.
in arguing with you, but you have made it known about 100 times how you feel about the fairgrounds, how you don't want to put $1 in the fairgrounds. This is
Judge, I just said if it
consistent.
got blown down, I'd support that too.
So
And I
guess
just-
what?
and I just
The
offered to put this money
fairgrounds-
back in the fairgrounds,
Right,
so.
the fairgrounds
I don't know what
needed
you're talking
$15
about.
million worth of work, and you abstained. So you had a chance to assist when the roof needed help from Hurricane Harvey, and you abstained.
Because you wouldn't let me divide it up and vote on the projects I wanted to, and some of the ones I did and some of the ones I didn't. That was what I asked for
I
then.
didn't, it
You
was
wa-
an agenda item that was
I was
one
not allowed-
contract.
I was not allowed to vote individually because I thought those projects then should have been broken up and voted on them by the merits individually.
I hear you.
And I was not allowed to, and therefore I abstained based on the fact that I didn't get a chance to vote for those projects individually. And I still think we should have voted on those individually, and maybe we wouldn't be sitting here today.
I agree with you on that one.
Well,
But let me say something, Judge.
yes, of course.
But not wanting to have anything in the western part, northern part, you shouldn't, I don't think that's the correct words for you to use, because some of us do care about the western part, the northern part. And if you go back and just look at some of the things that we have done, starting with Bishop, the library, rebuild it, multi-purpose center, the park, the Veterans Memorial Park, and also the Veterans Memorial area in Guause, the Veterans area in Banquete, So it's not that we haven't done anything and we don't care. I mean, sometimes we just don't want to throw the money away either. And I concur with Commissioner Mares, what he's saying about doing things. But how long are you gonna go before you continue to lose and lose and lose money? That fairgrounds is losing money every day, just like the American Bank Center. Every day you lose money. And we have to give them money, we have to, $800,000 a year, and sometimes more, 1,000 every day for using it, when it's our buildings. And, I don't know where you get the idea that the theater's gonna bring that kind of money in and maybe gonna be used, maybe. But we got the ballpark and it's sitting there. Who's doing anything with the ballpark? I mean, if we really care, we'd be taking care of the ballpark, and because that ballpark is usable for many things and nobody's doing nothing with the ballpark. It's just sitting there. Yeah, we're gonna let it go down. Yeah, we're gonna let it go down and then we're gonna worry about it, but the only time you've seen the people there at the, and you look at Jason gives you those statements every time, and every event's got red. So when do they lose money all the time? I don't care what event they have, it seems like they're losing money all the time.
Well, that's because the roof
But-
leaked water
Well,
when
no,
people had it.
Let me finish.
It's hard to rent it when it's leaking.
Please, okay?
Sure.
Okay. And I understand the roof, yeah, you need a roof, and
Yeah.
thank God they put a roof, but it's not just the roof. I mean, it's not the roof that doesn't make us money. It's that for some other reasons, whatever is not making money, and I don't know what it is. The organization that has the fairgrounds, what do you call it?
We call that Spectra.
Spectra, yeah, thank you, I couldn't think about it. I got a senior moment, I guess. But called Spectra, and they want a theater when they can't bring money in the Coliseum, they want to bring money outside. I mean, how can I trust Spectra to say that we're going to use that to bring money, to bring all this kind of revenues, when they can't even do it there at the fairgrounds? The only time I've seen that fairgrounds full is when we had the IRT. That's the only time I've seen that fairgrounds full, and that event was for everybody in the western part, northern part.
Right.
And all those other counties that were surrounding us, everybody benefit from it.
Yeah.
They all benefit from it.
Do you remember?
They're all benefit from it, Judge, because that was the purpose of it. And so, the drive-throughs, you all did a good job with the drive-throughs, and you did this, and, people came from all over, okay? And but other than that, if you see on the ledgers that we get, I'm just gonna go back to what I see when Jason sends us those ledgers. It lose and you lose and you lose. I mean, I don't know how can we lose that much money all the time, and when we're giving them money to help them, hopefully get out of the red, and it doesn't work out. So, as far as and the thing for me here, and you know this because I've told you many times, is the contract, and I don't have a problem with the ABM finishing what they started. I don't have a problem with that. I just, when I saw the contract and it says energy performance savings, and we're not saving, and those parking lots are not energy savings, how are we gonna save money with the parking lots? How are we gonna save money with outside or theater that we're gonna be able to pay back? We're not.
Well,
I mean,
because
I
there was
don't- I don't
different
see it-
categories.
I don't see it there that it's gonna bring us, you do a parking lot and it's gonna bring you revenue. How are you gonna bring revenue if you still have a parking lot anyway?
Right.
A parking lot, it's a parking lot, it's upgraded, it's upgraded. But, and maybe we should have done section by section, item by item, so we can know where we at with every item. But I'm just saying that for
and just
you
so you know, we
for
did.
you to indicate that we don't care.
No, I didn't say that.
Well, you almost said it. We didn't
No,
care
I
about
did
the
not
western
say
side,
that.
Northern side.
No, I
because
said-
we don't want to spend no money on that area, but how much money, we spend a lot of money in that area.
Yeah.
And I'm going to continue to spend the money that I can and that I have.
Listen, I appreciate
Well,
your perspective.
to upgrade
I
that-
appreciate your
Well,
perspective.
let me finish. to upgrade those areas, because my heart, my concern is there, regardless of how you feel about it. You know, my perception is doing for that communities out there, doing for those colonias, bringing things out there that's gonna help them.
Right.
Instead of having to bring everybody's in.
Right.
So I just get upset too when you try to push me in a category that is not right.
No, I said this particular project. We're not talking about the other ones. We've already had the discussion of giving to some of the things that you have made the forefront, like the $1 million in aggregate that we appropriated for IRT. We can talk about line items, but the problem is there's a double standard going on. And my concern is that I don't believe that the contracts will allow, okay, for an easy untwining. And that's what the court is asking Jenny to go and discover.
That's why I'm concerned,
And-
there's gotta be energy savings.
No, but just so you know, you had a chance a year ago, and either you
blew it.
regret it, you blew it, you were asleep, you didn't pay attention, because it was line item. And I personally
Maybe it
think
wasn't
that
told
you
right to-
formed
maybe it wasn't
a
told right
different
to me
opinion.
either, you know?
No, you were told. There was so much evidence,
I don't
it's
know.
overwhelming. No, you just don't, I think it was a senior moment, is the way you described it. But the bottom line
Always has to
is,
get personal.
is that,
You wanna say it again? Because.
No, I'm saying to
I
you-
don't mind being, saying old like you are, I don't mind saying being old. You
Okay.
are too, you're almost the same as I am. You know,
oh my
so-
God.
Oh my God.
I have no problem telling,
Judge, we know we have to
that's not
stop.
that's not a
Just stop.
problem. Right, the problem is that you need to make certain that you understand that you voted for this. You had an opportunity to vet it, and what we're
So I
saying
admit
is
I
that
probably made a mistake, I don't know. Maybe it was a mistake, Judge, I don't mind saying that.
it's fine,
I
it's
don't
fine,
mind
but it's a
admitting it.
mistake that's now
Some people
contract.
do have a problem admitting it.
No, the problem is that there is contractual obligations. We're going to allow Jenny,
Right.
there's a motion to allow Jenny to go check on those contractual obligations, and then she'll bring it back. But you get to feel how you feel. You say you've done great for the communities, great for the people. This would have been the opportunity to live up to your word when you
I haven't
voted
lived-
for
So you
it.
say I haven't lived up to my word, huh?
Not with this contract, no,
Well,
sir. You
Because the
haven't.
contract is not a good contract for me now
Well,
that I see it.
you unfortunately, then we'll
People
have to figure
changed
out.
this contract, and I don't agree with
Well,
that.
you're gonna get a chance, and it takes two partners. You don't get to unilaterally change a contract. It has to have a willing partner on the other side, and all I'm
What I'd
trying to
like
tell
do,
you
Judge,
is
I
that
would like to-
that's,
I would like to make a motion, I don't know, to give, anything that's not energy savings, take it out.
okay, well,
Let's do,
it's not, you can direct the county attorney, as she's already said, to go and discuss that. But just so you know, it's important, because I feel like there's like a lapse of understanding that it's not unilateral. Just because you say it doesn't make it so.
I understand.
All right? So you understand she gets to go over and talk to ABM and see what it is that they want to do legally, because there's a legal obligation, and that's what I'm trying to explain. And in the meantime, I'm trying to also give you a social explanation of why it is important to have equity. Equity is not equal. Equity means opportunity. And some of us believe in that and used to believe in it, and others do not.
and Judge, that's the problem. Your argument on equity.
No, it's my
always-
perspective. I've
But
listened
it's
to you,
always-
sir.
But I don't accuse you of things like.
Nobody's accusing anything.
You did too. You and your
You
statements.
can only make yourself
you and
feel
your
that way.
statements- No, you do it very well. You and your statements always make it seem as though we are the bad guys because we don't agree with your project.
Like-
You accuse us of not supporting things in that side of the project. Commissioner Gonzalez has done more work in that precinct than you will ever do in your lifetime. All those
Okay.
projects that he just talked about, while I was on the court, I supported. Every project John Maras has brought, I have supported. This is the only one. Everything that Commissioner Hernandez and Commissioner Vaughn before and Commissioner Pusley brought from that part of the county, I have supported. But you continually use your equity argument to take shots at people. I still haven't taken a shot at you other than to say I think Commissioner Gonzalez will do more than any of us will do in that precinct in our lifetimes. But you take shots because you don't like where the argument is going. You make us defend ourselves, unlike what I do. I simply stated my factual reasons for why. I didn't say one thing. I didn't accuse you of anything. I didn't imply anything about you. But you elongate these arguments and this divisiveness that you create by accusing us because we don't support one project You accuse us and imply, because we don't support a want amphitheater that's never going to make money and do anything but cost this county, that we are horrible people
No.
and we don't support things.
I didn't say anything.
That's not an equity argument. That is a
Commissioner-
personal attack.
Commissioner,
No, let me finish. That is a personal attack on people that are sitting up here trying to do their best that they can and are not making the same accusations to you. And you are causing this divisiveness, Judge.
No,
You are making it
Commissioner.
hard to work with people because you constantly, go back and review the tape. You constantly attack us if
No,
we don't agree
Commissioner.
with you on projects. That is my perspective. It may not be
No, sir.
correct, but it's mine and it's
That's fine.
It's my
You-
perspective
you're
to
all-
have.
You're allowed, the problem is
I
that
am
you
allowed.
want to articulate how you feel, but you're not ready to listen to anybody else.
Oh, of course
I
not.
have an opportunity to share a perspective. I've let you very calmly and very nicely appreciate your perspective.
And I let you
Commissioner
finish
Gonzalez as well. Commissioner Modas had a perspective. There's nothing wrong with that. But you have to learn how to respect other people's opinions too.
As do you,
So
Judge, and
I
you have
did.
to
I let
learn
you speak, and now
right.
you're saying that my words aren't
Your
as
words are
valued as others.
accusatory and divisive.
That's how you
whereas
feel.
That's right, and where ours are factual, and here's why we do or
Right.
don't support. That's
Right.
the difference is,
So a lot of-
the divisive tenure that you put in here
That's-
makes it difficult
No, I
to do
think I
anything
said
but
I wanted
to
us
talk
to be
about it.
united, coast and country.
But want and actions are different things.
No, I
This is
feel.
a want project and
Hey,
and not a need
Commissioner,
project.
we're here to do the court's business.
Yes,
I've
ma'am.
respected your opportunity to come up with a way to renegotiate a contract 4 months from completion. We're going to have that opportunity, and you continue to somehow, again, only think that your side of the aisle gets to have a say-so here. I'm going to have an opportunity
You get
to call the vote, which I will now, and you will have your say-so.
I appreciate that. Thank
All
you.
right, then let's move forward.
Sounds good.
All those in favor of the motion made by Commissioner Chesney and seconded by Gonzalez regarding the directive to County Attorney Dorsey to go meet with ABM to see which energy savings projects could be substituted for the amphitheater in our agreement with ABM, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay,
John.
Are you and I?
you know, I'm, you know. You know, John, I truly support you, your precinct. I don't think there's anything wrong with Jenny going and speaking to them, but I want you to know that I make this vote only because I think that, you know, it's just fundamentally wrong to go back on your word, so I vote no.
Is it no? Okay, sorry.
Okay. All right, so Jenny, please do what you can to reach out to them and keep the court advised through the matter, the ways you always do. All right. And so,
Judge, I had one to go back to, please.
yes, you did. You had item number A1. You said to A1, you wanted to make a clarification.
Yes, ma'am.
What is the clarification?
When we were discussing, and the motion, I believe, was strictly for those involved in the collective bargaining, that would leave out the sheriff and the elected constables who are also on the front line. And I would like to go back and clarify that they be considered in this amount that we're giving for the collective bargaining folks.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, and all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, done. And also, we've got one adjournment in memory by you, Commissioner Chesney.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, wait, excuse me.
Sorry.
I'm so sorry. Connie?
We still have someone who had their hand raised. I don't know if
Oh.
that's allowed.
It's
Did
the,
you, which action?
it's the lady from the
Cindy?
marina, Judge.
Yes, hi.
Hi, did you have a question?
Wait, yes, this is my first city council meeting. Anyway, I noticed others were able to ask some questions when you were processing things. You came back from a meeting that we waited through most of the day and just simply said, item E, we've ruled. Could you elaborate on that for
Yeah.
us? Because we have 3 members here that you just simply said we authorize.
Right,
but-
so let me explain, and then I'm gonna have our county attorney reach out to you so that she can visit with you. But we noticed an agenda item for executive session because
Yes, ma'am.
it fits within the Open Meetings Act sections that deal with economic development and deliberations. And so we noticed it as basically authorizing 2 things, which we put on the record. One is that we will attend the meeting on behalf of Nueces County, and who will attend the meeting, and that they're authorized to act in the best interest of Nueces County. That's all that was noticed, which means that's all that we can really discuss and talk about. But I'm gonna have the county attorney visit with you, and we'll obviously be present tomorrow as well, for the meeting that she has alerted us to.
Okay, and my last question, thank you for your answer. My last question would be, is the city, county planning on utilizing any voting rights they may or may not have at the annual meeting tomorrow?
I think that we placed it on the record, so I feel, Jenny, that I can respond affirmatively, that we did intend to be there as a voting member because we have a fiduciary duty as trustee legally. And so we will be there tomorrow in that capacity.
As a voting capacity. Okay, thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
No, thank you for your patience there.
Yeah, it's been an all-day affair, and I must say thank you to you all because I couldn't imagine doing this on a regular basis, what you all are going through. So your efforts are greatly appreciated.
Well, thank you, and I'm sorry, sometimes online, I don't notice the hand. Connie just told me that you had a hand up, and I apologize that we did not notice that coming out of executive session. Thank you.
That's okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay,
Okay,
I'm
I'm
gonna,
gonna get off now.
yes, ma'am.
Are you taking action on 3B?
They did, B.
We did.
and C.
Wait, 3B, let me go backwards.
3B, which one?
3B, we did take action on that one. That was the execute the Sonia Resendez's next friend, JG, a minor. That was the execution.
I'm sorry. Did we miss
A,
that?
it's just to discuss the status. It wasn't any action at all.
Okay.
B was the ratification of the
Long day.
authorization of the county judge to do that.
Got it.
Okay.
The item on the regular agenda for A3 was resolved with the executive session item for ABM? Because it's a regular agenda item as well.
Yeah, that's just the motion I
So
made.
it's on
It was a
the
motion that
right?
Commissioner Chesney made.
Okay,
Right.
for the bottom.
And for the record, I'll just forget it. I'm not going to go back on the amendment. But when it says discuss any amendment, there is an amendment right now, right? It's just the idea of an amendment. There is no legal amendment. There's no backup documentation that showcases an amendment. There's nothing in writing. It's just a directive. And that does help us a little bit on item number 2.
Okay.
All righty. So now I'm going to move to adjournments in memory, and can't believe how the hour has gotten by, but that's what happens. We started at 2:00, so.
Is mine,
It's,
Judge?
you're up.
Okay, thank you. For the court, condolences offered to William James Bill Ferguson. Bill was a realtor here in Corpus Christi. He was a devoted family man, loyal friend, and respected colleague who went to his heavenly home on July 31st, 2021. At 73 years of age, he will be remembered for his booming voice, kind heart, dedication to family and friends, and love of God. Bill's athletic talents were amazing. Excuse me. He lettered in baseball and football at W.B. Ray High School, where he was inducted into the Athletic Hall of Fame and is remembered by his coach for his exceptional leadership and tenacity. He continued his education and athletic career at the great university, Texas Christian University, TCU, where he played football and baseball, won the Fightingest Frog Award, and earned his place in the TCU Hall of Fame. He led the team in home runs in '69 and was All-American Southwest Conference in '68 and '69. He was drafted by several major league teams, including the Brewers, Orioles, Yankees, and finally signed with the Cincinnati Reds. Returning to Texas, Bill continued his love of competition by playing big league softball, where he was an All-American in 3 different leagues. His teammates finally remember him as someone who always made us better. He met and married the love of his life for the next 44 years, raising their children. And Bill was just if you knew Bill, he was just one of these guys you just couldn't not like. He was such a good man, and certainly left this world too early. So condolences to the Ferguson family.
I just want to say, and I thought maybe I could get the obituary. I'd like to do a more proper adjournment in memory for this amazing woman that was one of the icons for all women who have participated in public service. Her name was Lena Coleman Wilson, and Miss Coleman passed away recently, and I believe they're working on a memorial, but she hailed from Seguin, Texas, so I know the funeral is happening, I believe, when we're in court next Wednesday, the 22nd. And so I'd like to do something thorough, but I want her family to know immediately that we are sending our love and prayers and condolences to this amazing woman who really just pioneered vocational education for the disabled, sat on the board of the Black Chamber, the NAACP. She was an entrepreneur. She was a philanthropist. She served so many mayors and so many county judges on so many committees. I had the honor to work with her so many times. And as I said, she is an irreplaceable member of our community. She will be missed dearly. And with that, that concludes my adjournment. Are there any others? Okay. At this time, we adjourn at 6:24 p.m. 6:24 p.m.
Delmar also.